Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 12th, 2022 Newport Beach Planning Commission meeting. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Keddy will lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead and do our roll call.
All commissioners are present this evening.
All right. Thank you. We'll move on to public comments. These are public comments for anything that is not currently on the agenda. So if there's anyone from the public that would like to give any comment on any non-agenda item, now's your time.
Thank you, Chair Lowry and members of the Commission. Several meetings ago, you approved permits for a residential redevelopment on Ocean Boulevard that required variances because it went over the height. We heard a couple of meetings back that had been appealed to the City Council, but on your schedule of upcoming meetings, I do not see that listed either as a council meeting or a to be determined item. So speaking of things not on the agenda, I am wondering what happened to that. Thank you.
All right. Staff, is there any date certain on that, or is that a?
I can report that particular appeal was withdrawn by the appellant, so there is no appeal. Notice has been provided to the Coastal Commission, and to my knowledge, no appeal has been filed.
All right, that's what I thought. Okay.
So that project is in essence complete.
Okay, that's what I thought I remembered. Okay, great. All right. Any other public comments at this time for non-agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. We'll move on for the request for continuances.
Chair Lowry, we have a request to continue item number 2 and item number 6,
All right.
which is the Newport Beach Tennis Club Development Agreement Extension. So we're requesting that to be continued to the next meeting on May 26th. And then the item number 6, the Senate Bill 9 Implementation Code Amendment. Again, moving that to May 26th.
26, okay. And we do public comments on the continuances, and the public comments are only specific just to the continuance, not to any substantive things per the project. That'll be done once the project or the item is up for in front of the commission. So I'll just open it up quickly for if there's any public comments on the continuances. We'll start with
Chair Lowry, if
yes.
I may.
Yeah.
If we could go ahead and just take those items as they come forward on the actual agenda.
Oh, okay. You do it that way? Okay. That's fine. Okay. We'll do it that way then. Then we'll go ahead and move on to our consent items. And then we just have the minutes on our consent items this evening.
Mr. Mosier had sent some edits, so I make a motion with his edits included.
I'll second.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the section 7, public hearing items, and we're going to start with item number 2, which is that first continuance that we did, the Newport Beach Tennis Club Development Agreement Extension, and that'll be a continuance. But if there's any public comments that would like to say anything specifically to the continuance, you can come on up. If not, don't see anyone, so we'll go ahead and we'll close those public comments and move on to item number 3, which is Juliet's Cafe and Market.
I'm sorry, if we could just get a motion and a second to continue to that specific date. Thank you.
A motion continue.
Second.
And that would be to May 26, 2022. Thank you.
All right.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Now we'll move on to item number 3, which is Juliet's Cafe and Market, PA 2022-018.
Chair Lowry, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Leonie Schuler. She's the contract planner who worked on this project, and she'll provide the presentation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening, Commissioners. I am pleased this evening to present you with a summary of the report and the recommendation for Juliet's Cafe and Market. The project is located at 1501 West Cliff Drive. It's in a multi-tenant commercial center and is proposed to be located in a recently subdivided portion of Union Bank. The conditional use permit is required for the proposed use for a food service and eating and drinking establishment with an alcohol Type 41 ABC license, and they are also in conjunction with the CUP requesting a parking reduction by 20 spaces. So this is an overview of the location. The center is located at the intersection of West Cliff Drive and Dover Drive. There are other commercial developments in the area, but there are also multifamily residential to the south and west and north of the center. The center itself is predominantly tenanted by office uses. And then across Dover Drive, we do have some single-family residential neighborhoods. So the project itself, the applicant is seeking to establish a neighborhood-serving cafe that is casual in nature and focusing on to-go items, as well as some casual sit-down for breakfast and for lunch. And then in the afternoon, a menu of wine and cheese and small plates. In addition to the restaurant area, they're proposing a retail market that would provide items that local residents might pick up to supplement and entertain at home. And so those are samples are listed for you there. This is an overview of the building itself of the Union Bank. You can see the bank on the left-hand side. It will continue to operate in this smaller space. The subdivided space to the right is where Juliet's is looking to locate. And so here is a floor plan of the project and a breakdown of how they propose to use their space. Inside, they're proposing a small seating area, 530 square feet, and then a retail area of 670 square feet. And additionally, there is an existing patio area outside that they're going to improve and use for casual seating for customers who want to eat on the premises. So here's a picture of the bank itself and the location in the building where Juliet's would be going. And then the architect has provided some renderings of how they expect and anticipate improving the aesthetics of the outside for the customers. This is from the front, entering, and then along the side. And the patio area is really located primarily between the two buildings on the site, so it's sheltered somewhat by those two structures. So the conditional use permit for the ABC license, the applicant, as I said, is seeking a Type 41, which is beer and wine, to enhance their menu options for the customers who do dine at the location, and then also to be able to have off-sale retail sales of wine and such in their retail area. The police department has reviewed the request for the ABC license, and they do not have concerns. They're recommending approval, or they have given their support for it. And this is based on the location of the business and the operational characteristics. The applicants anticipate opening and being open until about 6:30 in the evening. Staff is recommending that perhaps a 10 p.m. closing hour be considered, just to allow them some flexibility in the future. There are conditions of approval specific from the police department that have been included in the resolution. And there is no undue concentration of licenses in this particular area. So this afternoon, I believe we distributed to you a revised, updated resolution. We updated the tables on pages 2 and 3 of the resolution. It's redlined there, just to add some additional statistics, crime-related statistics. Basically, alcohol-related violations are lower in this reporting district than they are in other districts, or in a number of other districts. The overall crimes are maybe a little higher, but it's indicated to us that these are primarily related to burglary and auto theft rather than alcohol issues. So again, the updated resolution on pages 2 and 3 gives you the complete tables with the statistics. Moving on from the alcohol license request, in conjunction with the conditional use permit, the applicant is also requesting a reduction in required parking. So there are, as the slide indicates, 170 spaces on site, and with 100% occupancy, there would be 190 required per code. The code does give the Planning Commission the authority to grant a reduction in parking requirements if the applicant can demonstrate that parking needs will still be met. So the applicant did provide a parking analysis that was prepared by a professional company, and they based that analysis on 100% occupancy of the 2 buildings that are on the site. They conducted also a manual parking survey, and that was done both on a weekday and on a weekend. Many of the businesses on the weekend are closed, so the parking is even more available on the weekend. What they found is that the peak demand occurs on a weekday right around lunchtime at noon, and there was still quite a number of parking spaces available. The parking study really does support the request for the parking reduction. And the other thing to consider is that we would anticipate that there will be a draw from the office buildings on the site. A number of the customers will likely come from those offices, and therefore either the employees or visitors to those offices, and therefore they would not generate additional parking, a need for additional parking. In terms of CEQA review, the project does qualify for an exemption under a conversion from one type of use to the restaurant. And the project is really just tenant improvements to this, particular suite in order to accommodate the new business that's proposed. And all of that work does fall within the threshold of the allowed exemption. So the recommended action this evening is to conduct the public hearing and take testimony, find the project exempt from CEQA under the Class 3 exemption, and then to adopt the resolution in your packet approving the revised resolution, approving the use permit that is requested. And that concludes my summary of the matter. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant team is also present this evening, and the operator of the business, so they are available and happy to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions, staff, at this time? Right, Laura?
Thank you for your presentation. Can you clarify the type of alcohol license? In your presentation, you had said off-sale was included. I thought that the type of license they were seeking was just for on-sale. I didn't realize, I thought they were doing to-go food, but not to-go alcohol.
A Type 41 would allow them both, actually.
Okay.
So that they can sell like bottled wine from the retail store, and then have on-site service for those customers who aren't taking to go, but rather are seated and want to eat on the premises.
And then I noticed In the staff report, there was no mention of Newport Harbor High School. I saw that Mariners was mentioned, as well as Bob Henry Park and some of the other churches and facilities in the area. I thought that was a pretty big omission, and I wasn't sure if there was a reason for that. It's pretty much a stone's throw.
It was not intentional. I'm not as familiar with your geography perhaps as,
So is
Yeah.
the standard that we're looking at, is it just proximity to the project, or is there a specific?
Commissioner Kleiman, there is no specific standard. It's really, do we consider the surrounding uses, including any kind of sensitive uses, schools, daycare centers, parks, and the like, and whether or not the additional alcohol license, given the operational characteristics, would that be viewed as detrimental? And that's really up to the commission to decide. We did not think that Newport Harbor High, the proximity to that is a factor that it was considered, but we don't see that as being an issue, and we still recommend approval.
Thank you.
Hello. On the parking, I noticed when I was out there, they have signs up that says parking for so-and-so building on this side, parking for so-and-so building on that side. Is there a CC&R covering this property that designates how the parking should be shared?
I would defer to the applicant team
All right,
perhaps
that's
to
fine.
address that question.
Or
Thank you.
when they come up, we'll talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
The applicant and owner are both listed as Westcliff Dover Investors. I take it you'll be coming up later to go, okay, then I'll hold for my questions then.
All right, there's no further questions to staff. We'll get a poll on Ex Parte Communications. We'll start down there with Mark.
None.
None for me.
None.
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 None?
No.
All right, now we'll go ahead and open up our public hearing. And why don't we go ahead and start with the applicant, if you'd like to come up and say a few words. I think there was a few questions here for you as well.
Hello, Commissioners, thank you for having me. I'm Brian Martini. I'm the Vice President of Asset Management for DMP Properties, family ownership, local family who owns this property.
Any questions? We'll go with Eric.
I didn't know if you had a presentation to give, but.
I'm sorry, I don't, but I do have the applicant, so he can
Sure.
speak more
Mine was more
specifically.
generic, and it probably is out of order by the commission here because it's not something where our agenda is discussing, but you do have, I think, underparked facility there. I think it's extremely underparked. In fact, I see vehicles parked there that you might be letting them park there on a fee or whatnot. I drive by it every day, and
Yeah.
it's very underparked, but the property right next door where the raw yoga is and all that, that is extremely overparked. Have you ever come into an agreement with them as far as that parking some type of agreement that could help
No.
satisfy that? Because the way that community flows, as you know, is pretty intense there and very light where you're at.
Yes, so let me kind of, jumping back to the other question, as far as the two buildings, there's the US Bank building and the Union Bank building. Our ownership owns them both. So we control that parking field that you are speaking of. And, we've been working with the other ownership to not have, because everybody sees it. Everybody sees that it's underparked, so everybody just parks there. And, it hasn't been an issue for us, fortunately. And I don't know that it will be an issue even when Juliet's comes, because a lot of the raw yoga, they're kind of in and out. But ideally, no, it's going to be our parking field. As you were referencing the signage, we're going to rebrand it to the parking for the property itself and manage it. So we have the ability, which we don't want to have to go to where we're having security to manage it, to try to keep it just for the tenants and the offices.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it hasn't been an issue as of late because it's such a deep parking field.
Do you have any idea how the future of that center will be with the fact that Union Bank and US Bank have merged? Will they still operate separately?
As of
or-
right now, they're operating separately. Now, Union Bank, as obviously you see, they right-sized this portion. Right now, they have offices over in the US Bank building, but we have not, it hasn't made it down to our level what their ultimate plans are with that building.
Yeah, I think for me, I would love to see, because I still think even with this coming in, and I think the study totally will justify it.
Yeah.
I think it's still going to be underparked. So I'd love to, maybe to work with staff at some point in the future and try to figure out how to service the neighboring guys if there's some type of a sharing type of,
And we're
with
open to
employees or somebody that is easier monitored than just simply everyone flowing over.
You know, though, I shouldn't say that. Now that I think about it, Laura's going to kick me in the rear end. My property manager, we do give them 10 parking spaces out to the, will that be on Westcliff? At the corner, we do allow them employee parking. They have 10 that they've reserved. So, look, we've been good neighbors with them, and we want to keep that working because they are impacted. So if we can help them, absolutely, but obviously want to make sure our tenants are serviced.
And I think that explanation helps justify this parking study even further, because you're already doing that, and the impacts are still severely low
Yeah.
compared to the neighbor.
That
So-
was the hard part. We were trying to get a real read when we did the parking study, but we couldn't control all of them parking. We had the 10 that we gave, but we were fully occupied, and all of our were primarily medical and different uses in there. They were all back. We did a survey for the parking study that showed that all of our tenants were using the offices completely. They weren't doing Zoom or remote work at the time of the studies.
Great, thank you so much.
Further questions? Mark?
I have two questions, and the first one is related to parking. I think you addressed it. So you are the owner of the entire parking lot as well. I was trying to figure out why this particular use was taking on the burden of 20. And then, so it's not just that particular use, it's the ownership as a whole. Is that correct?
I believe it's shown on there is that it's because the CUP is tied to the one parcel, but we have the two parcels that we own, and we allow the parking field to be shared between the two buildings. I think they're just separate parcels.
That clarifies that, and I understand that you've got some preliminary plans in terms of how you're going to lay everything out. Maybe what I didn't see, and I know that this facility wasn't intended to be, when it was originally designed for food service. So where exactly would the trash facilities go, and how are you planning on implementing that?
There's currently a trash enclosure out there, but I think I'll have to rely upon the building department when they give us the TI plans, and they go through the TI plans. But building an enclosed, if we have to build another trash enclosure to do it similar to the one we have, enlarge the one we have, there's a fairly good island there, and it is enclosed with a roof to keep it protected. There's a lot of public dumping that used to take place before we took it over. So we've enclosed it now to seal it off.
Okay, it's a condition of approval. I was just
Yeah.
wondering how you were going
Yeah.
to do that. Thank you.
We'd lean upon the building department to kind of guide us with that.
Any further questions on the applicant from commissioners? Peter?
Are we going to see it? How you're going to create the patio, what's it going to be like, the lighting, sound?
I don't have anything more than the rendering we gave you. The TI plans have been submitted separately. It's not going to be a covered patio. It's going to basically be with some tables and some umbrellas. There will be that sound barrier that you saw, and there's some type of wall to separate the two. But I don't have anything more than what was given in the renderings that we have here. Right now, it's an open patio that's shared between the two spaces.
And where's the property line between these?
The property line, would say it's close to US Bank, I believe. It's about 5 to 7 feet off, about that,
Okay.
off of the US Bank
It
building.
wasn't depicted on here, that's why and then tell me, so you're going to expand it out into that patio, and I assume the tenants on either side have no problem losing that public patio.
It's not, it's really unused right now. There is nobody using that clearway right there. I think it's gonna beautify it. I think definitely for the neighbors, people driving by, and it's going to become an amenity. So our plan as the property owner, where you see outside of this green patio, we are going to go in and do some new pavers, make it look pretty, and add some other seating elements. I just have to be a little cautious because we don't want to create a bad environment too, where it becomes people are hanging out, causing noise for the tenants. So it's a fine line we have to walk, but yeah, there will be soft seating in that area.
The expansion area out toward Dover,
Correct.
taking out landscaping in there, well, that, I assume that's going to be fenced.
Yes. Yeah, I think we have the other picture. They're conceptual, and we again will lean upon the building department and staff to give us their recommendations on how that is going to be fenced, if they want something more substantial. This is a box hedge, different concepts. We're open to that, something that adds to the aesthetics more than what you see now.
Thank you.
Any further questions? My only question is, as you as the applicant, are you good with the recommendations that is in the resolution? The conditions, yeah.
No, I am. I'm John. Unfortunately, my wife is with her grandson right now. She's Juliet. And your concern about the alcohol, we were only planning on carrying maybe 3 beers to just have beer there for people that come. The wine is going to be very limited, actually. The focus is not for wine to be sold to go. The focus is to have wine there on a wall that people can see, like we did at our previous restaurant, but much minimized from what we had before. So it's a very focus on having wine available there, but not geared towards to go. It will be there. What most people don't realize, if you have a beer and wine license, you can actually sell it to go at any restaurant. But this is going to be very minimal.
Peter, do you have another question, or no? All right. All right, thank you. Any other questions for, seeing none? Okay, thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and open up for further public comments from others in the audience, if they'd like to say anything. All right. Doesn't look like we have any, so we'll go ahead and close the public comments, unless there's any other questions for Laura?
I would
One
like
more-
to hear from Wendy Jo, if,
Oh, okay.
just so she doesn't get too comfortable sitting over there. Good evening.
Good evening. How are
Nice
you?
to see you. I just wanted to talk about, I know there was some additional numbers that were sent out this afternoon, and I also noticed that there are some conditions that you recommended that didn't quite make it into the conditions that are being proposed, so I wanted to get some feedback either from you or staff on that, and also talk about, I know that it's been rebranded, but the apartments over there, the Coronados, that's what they used to be called. I know that was at one point, I don't know if it's still the case, an issue. So have the numbers subsided there, or is that still a hot spot for calls for service?
I would say that area is definitely a hotspot for calls for service. With any concentration of apartments like that, it tends to be an issue. This area, though, we do report this area to ABC as a high crime area, but the nexus to alcohol is pretty low. DUIs and public intoxication, liquor law violations, those make up about 14 to 15% of all crime in that area, which is a relatively low number for when you compare them to all areas of Newport Beach. I think crime is elevated probably because of that apartment complex, and it's largely related to thefts.
Got it. I thought it was only slightly higher for the peninsula, which is kind of our highest alcohol-related crime area, no?
It absolutely is. In terms of DUIs and liquor laws, do you mean? I believe realistically why the peninsula ends up being a little bit lower is because a lot of those DUIs are caught as they're exiting the city.
Oh, so they're outside that statistical area, but they're,
Yeah,
in theory, stemming from,
right. Vandalisms are higher in that area, batteries are higher in that area. Those are usually crimes indicative of high alcohol concentration.
So the police department doesn't have any concerns about the high school being close by? I know obviously there's other restaurants in the area that are serving alcohol, but looks like, the hours are kind of concentrated just during, or mostly school hours and a little bit thereafter. Not concerned about that at all?
Yeah, we really do not have concerns.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners have any more questions? All right, thank you so much. All right. All right, we'll finish up. Just waiting for sure. No more comments from the, looks like there's none. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment section. And then we'll move to see if there's any commissioners has any further questions for staff. Yeah. Lauren?
All right, I just wanted to follow up on that last comment about the conditions of approval that were recommended by Wendy in her letter that didn't make it over. Was there a reason those were omitted, or? Let's see here. Number 9, no games or contests requiring or involving the consumption of alcohol. Looks like it was omitted. The applicant shall maintain security recording system. Number 14 was left out.
Is there a handwritten page number that you could refer to?
98 and 99. As well as the time. I know you mentioned that in your presentation as well. I don't personally see the need, especially considering that this will run with the land once approved, if approved. I don't know why we would afford them additional hours that they don't intend on keeping. And the PD does say 6:30 on their recommendations, number 4.
So we did check and confirm with police department that they were amenable to 10 p.m. closing.
Commissioner Kleiman, when we get the memorandum from the police department, we do sit down with Wendy Jo and we discuss any potential changes that staff, the planning staff, would be putting forward in the resolution to the planning commission, and to make sure that they're agreeable to the changes that we've done. And so we've compiled the recommended conditions that we agreed upon into the resolution. And so there are some differences and changes that we've vetted with the police department, and they'll stand with this recommendation.
Just seems like now this is the second time we're hearing one of these CUPs for a liquor license, that a lot of these standard recommendations or the conditions are kind of dropping off. So they're getting lighter and lighter each time, as well as there's no mention of any requirement for food sales along with the alcohol. Obviously, I'd prefer to see those, but I'm sure there's not a lot of support up here for changing that. But if everyone else is okay, then it is what it is.
Any other final questions for staff before we bring it up here? We have a discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve this. I think on condition 47, it does say quarterly gross sales of beverages not exceed gross sales of food during the same period. So I think that one's covered.
Yeah, I'm talking about individual points of sale, like someone coming and buying just alcohol versus having to purchase food before they can
Got it.
buy alcohol.
I really don't see the intensity on this one being something that, obviously it goes with the land like it always does, but I'm seeing most of the I's dotted, T's crossed on this one as far as what police department's asking for, and it doesn't seem like Wendy's taking any issue with it, so I'm happy to move forward and make a motion with the items
I
and
agree.
recommendations.
I agree with Commissioner Weigand. I'll second that.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 4, Amore for Dogs, PA 2021-217.
Good evening, Commissioners. Patrick Akis with the Planning Division. The item before you is the renovation of an existing residential kennel. A conditional use permit is required for the substantial change to the existing kennel permit, which included a new acoustical analysis by a professional and a number of upgrades that we'll discuss. Here's an aerial map of the project site. The subject property is indicated by the star. The city logo represents the public animal shelter that the commission approved last year. You'll see some of the surrounding familiar uses: Santa Ana Country Club, Newport Beach Golf Course, and State Route 73. Here's a close-up of the cul-de-sac of Riverside Drive. The properties in blue are the residential kennels. So this was an area that was previously annexed from the County of Orange to the city in 2004. And these 18 properties are the only in the city that allow commercial kennels in conjunction with single-family residences. So those that have existing residential kennel permits are represented by the dogs. This is the city's public animal shelter that's currently under construction. Right across the way is Dog Republic that was approved by the city in 2015. And Amore for Dogs, the application before you for the renovation for dog rescue, is the star. Here is a visual depiction of the proposed project. So the existing single-family residence will be remodeled, including an upgrade to the restroom for ADA compliance. The existing kennels will be demolished and 7 new prefabricated kennels will be installed, totaling 420 square feet. And the existing kennel detached structure will be converted to a dog wash and laundry room. The driveway will be reconfigured to provide a total of 3 spaces, including 1 ADA stall. Part of the request is to waive the residential parking due to infeasibility. There's a city tree right in front of the driveway that must remain per Public Works staff, and providing an enclosed garage for the residents would require significant alterations to the existing residence. For those reasons, staff finds that the waiver of parking is justified. There is a detached unpermitted structure at the rear of the property that would be removed as part of the project as well. Some operational characteristics about this use: it's an existing single-family residence with a renovated dog rescue. An owner and manager will be present at all time to address any nuisances should they occur. What's unique about this operation is appointment only, so there are no walk-ins, and it would be limited appointments, so it's really individual visits. So there wouldn't be multiple parties at a time. It would just be very tailored and very boutique. Business hours are commensurate with those along Riverside Drive of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily. There's a maximum of 29 dogs. The project as designed is compliant with city noise limits for daytime and nighttime. And parking on site, as discussed, will result in a total of 3 spaces. Here's an excerpt from the acoustical report that studied the sound. So to the south, you'll see that there are the Newport Bay Terrace apartments. To either side of the property are residential homes. The kennels where the dogs would be housed are in the peach-colored rectangles. It's also noteworthy that for the Newport Bay Terrace property, those rectangles are carports, so it is significantly distanced from those apartments. Here's that aerial again. Part of the findings for a conditional use permit is to assess the compatibility with the existing uses along the block. So back to the public animal shelter and the Dog Republic. Here's a comparison table. The deviations are noted in red. So you'll see the subject property is the second line item here, and there are no deviations from what has been previously approved. So there's an existing residence, there's an existing kennel permit at the site, so there's not an intensification or a new permit added by the project. The hours are the same. Parking will be waived as was done with Dog Republic. It's noteworthy that many properties along Riverside Drive do not have compliant parking and they are non-conforming. And the operation would be, again, appointment-based with no walk-ins. Over the past year, there have been 5 code enforcement cases. 3 were related to parking along the Riverside Drive block, and 2 were related to construction practices at the subject property. In particular, stormwater management and construction fencing. All of these cases have been closed since. In order for the commission to approve the project, there are required findings for the use permit. It has to be consistent with the city's general plan and zoning code, has to be compatible with the nearby uses. The site has to be physically suitable for development, and it can't be detrimental to the neighborhood. The project as proposed, along with the conditions of approval, ensure that the operation would be harmonious with the properties along Riverside Drive. Again, it's an existing residential kennel now, and with the proposed modifications, it would actually reduce the intensity insofar as it's a boutique by appointment only and no walk-ins. So to highlight a few here, there's the parking management plan that requires the rear tandem space to be used only by employees or the resident of the single-family home. There's limits on the number of employees, hours of operation, number of dogs that can be on site at any time, and also the maximum number of dogs that can be outdoors as recommended by the acoustical report. Staff does believe the findings can be made for approval for the project. The recommendation is to find the project exempt from CEQA under Class 3 and to adopt the resolution approving the use permit. We do have Valerie Schomburg from Animal Control here to answer any of your questions, and the applicant team, Amore for Dogs, is also present. Staff did receive 1 public comment from a member of the public on Orchard Drive, noting some concerns with perceived expansion of use, parking, and dog walking. Those comments are general for Riverside Drive with some noise concerns. So staff, again, finds that the project can be approved due to the fact that this is an existing kennel. It's not going to be a new permit, and the operational characteristics actually support that the intensity will be reduced.
All right. Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Patrick or Animal Control Officer? Lauren?
Great presentation, Patrick. Thank you. And thank you for including those code enforcement items that I had asked for. So just to follow up on that letter that you received, that we all received, there was mention of the dog or the park there that the claim in the email was that the park does not allow dogs. I assume that they just have to be leashed, but they can actually be at that park. That's consistent with the other parks in the city?
Yes, I'm not exactly sure which park that is referring to, but that would be correct, Commissioner Clement.
And then outside those code enforcements, any other issues with neighboring property owners with noise complaints?
From my understanding, animal control has received around 4 calls this past year, and most of those were from a single party, having to do with noise. But other than the code enforcement cases and those phone calls, there haven't been any other documented complaints on record.
Okay, and then last question. I know your staff report and the conditions say 30 dogs on site. Does that include the owner's dogs, the employee's dogs? That's 30 dogs total.
Yes, the limit would be a maximum of 29 dogs on site at any time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Sarah?
I see on the site plan that there are kennels 1 through 6 that look like they are outside. I'm just curious if the dogs are normally housed outside or indoors.
Yes, the applicant could speak a little bit more intimately to that. Those are prefabricated enclosed kennels. So as far as the specifications, I can provide more detail on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. See no other further questions at this time for staff. We'll go and move for ex parte communications. Eric, we'll start here.
I only talked with Animal Control Supervisor Schomburg.
I had none.
None.
Woo. I didn't.
None.
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 Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing, and let's start with the applicant if they have any presentation they'd like to have or any. Either one. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Don Thurlow. I'm the Director of Operations for Mori for Dogs Sanctuary. Mori for Dogs is a sanctuary. Mori for Dogs Sanctuary is a nonprofit organization funded by one of the greatest animal caregivers that I've ever met so far, Miss Viviana Fabrizio, along with emotional support from her husband, her loving husband, Mr. Bruce Fabrizio, who most of you, I'm sure, know. He is the CEO and creator of Simple Green line of products and the founder of the Egg Bar Foundation, which is also another animal foundation. Animals of the world, basically. Funding comes from various donations from partners that create products for dogs, such as a Mori for Dogs line of shampoos, support donations from companies that care for all animals, like Simple Green, and many from public donations. Mori for Dogs Sanctuary's goals is to make a better life for our canine community and those potential owners that would adopt our dogs. Mori for Dogs goals include, sorry, my eyes are going bad. Promote and provide exceptional medical care, the best training for each dog's personality and resort-style housing. Mori for Dogs' largest goal is to build a community where potential adopters value and treat our fur friends with the same kindness, respect, and love they would want for themselves by providing extended support to potential adopters for beyond the adoption of our fur friends. We feel this is important to provide a beautiful forever life for the relationship between the owner and the dog. Mori for Dogs supports animals and their owners in need of receiving training to get the best obedience and fun relationship experience with their own dogs outside of the adoption. So we will continue with that. A happy dog owner and a happy human owner means lots of fun, love, and a very low surrender rates back to rescue. That's one of our biggest goals, is that we don't get the animal back. We want it to live forever with the owner. We partner with companies like Canine City to assist with good but frustrated owners and dogs to provide the best training for that dog's character, because each dog does have its own character and personality. And so you have to find that out and, of course, train them to that. Consistent training and activity interaction with the human and dog is key to an amazing relationship for the entire family to be involved in. We also have many vets that we know and trust to help us to give any medical or maintenance training to, maintenance medical procedures to our fur community at Mori for Dogs. We pass this knowledge on to potential adopters to continue with the dog has come to know and trust and consistent with. This network approach, we are sure, will help the adopter make the best choice for their fur baby's medical needs. Amore for Dogs founder and employees believe that we can bring to the table a success plan for a forever relationship to those potential adopters, our fur friends, and actually the community around us, by using the goals and the guidelines that I mentioned above. We also believe that at the heart of every animal welfare success story, there is outside support, like the incredible compassion of the people like you. Thank you for helping us, and Patrick, thank him very much, for helping us get through this, to make this dream come true for our fur community and their successful owners. We thank you for this support and hope you continue by granting Amore for Dogs the CUP necessary to continue the goals, success, and dreams for all involved.
Thank you. I know we had Commissioner Kleiman, you had one question for the applicant? Or was it Sarah?
I did, just to confirm, when the dogs are kenneled, it is indoors.
All the small dogs are kenneled indoors. These prefabricated kennels that were purchased actually have air conditioning, heating, and a separate section, a 6x4 section, I believe. Don't quote me on that. 6x4 section in the back, and then a open fenced area in the front. They will be inside at nighttime, the bigger dogs, any dog over 45 pounds. As of right now, we're really focusing on 15 dogs at the most, all small dogs.
So, sorry, just to be clear, the prefabricated kennels do have one side that is open?
It's open to allow them to go in that area, during the day. At night, they will be locked up in the back section that's
Okay.
air conditioned and heated.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Peter or Mark? Okay, well, Peter and then Mark.
Tell us again how it's going to work. This is not, I can't drop a dog off for a week when I go away. This is, you find a dog on the street roaming and call you guys and say, can I drop it off?
No, mainly we're going to go through other shelters such as like Animal Control, Newport Beach Animal Control, and we will select dogs that are of certain age and certain temperaments so that we can bring them in and help them medically mainly, and then also train them if they're somewhat aggressive. We have the capabilities of doing that and making them more of a person's dog again, so that they're not, returned or I hate to use the word, but euthanized.
All right, and then people can come and pick one up if they want?
No, it is by appointment only.
That's what I mean. They call up and say, we're looking for a Shih Tzu.
So we do have a website that the dogs will be posted that we do have.
Okay.
And they can pick from that bunch of dogs, and then they would make an appointment for us, or to come and visit us and see the facility and the dog that they're choosing.
Well, just looking at the aerial and knowing some of these other kennels there, and you look down at it, this is wonderful. They have more space here
Yes.
than most dogs do in backyards in Newport Beach.
Yep. The goal is actually a resort environment for dogs. It actually looks like it. I don't know if you've seen the house. The picture that they had showed is very old. It's much different now.
Oh, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark?
Just one more question about the actual prefabricated kennels themselves. What are they made of?
Wood. The front is basically a cage, a really nice stainless steel cage. The floors are stainless steel, but with padding on, for the dogs inside. It's waterproof. It's completely waterproofed, so that their soil doesn't get out and rain doesn't get in. As well as they are completely electric. Like I told you, they do have lights built in, timers. They have air conditioning units as well as heaters.
So in regard to that kind of HVAC, does the dog have the ability on its own accord to go back and forth within the?
If we open the door, yes,
Okay,
which they will be.
okay.
And actually, they'll be out in the yard most of the time. We're really going to use those kennels just for, when they're sleeping.
Bless you. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Further questions for the, and just one more question, are you good with recommendations for the conditions?
Yes,
in
we
the,
are.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I will move to the general audience. If there's any public comments in respect to this item, feel free to come on up. All right.
Chair Lowry and commissioners, thanks for having us. My name is John Langford. I'm president of Friends of Newport Beach Animal Shelter. We bought property on Riverside Drive 2 years ago, and as you might remember, we came to this body last year for approval of our project. Patrick mentioned it. We're under construction. We intend to gift it to the city for ownership and operating for perpetuity. And first, before I go into my other comments, I just want to commend the applicant. They do a lot of good work for the city, and we share their fervor for the dogs. And so I love what they're doing. I want there to be more money spent on Riverside Drive and on our animals. My only concern is the parking. Riverside Drive is very tight the way it is, and that was part of our conversation a year ago. Our lot is 8,100 square feet, and we have 4 parking spots on site. And I know this is 13,000 square feet, and it's going to have 3. So I'm just concerned on the street level that if there's more cars coming to the streets because they're adding more use, then it's going to kind of spill over towards what will become the Newport Beach Public Animal Shelter. And I just want our community to be able to use our new facility to its utmost. And if there's nowhere to park, that might be a problem. And I know that our good friends with the Newport Beach Police Department, they're the ones that are going to be fielding all of these questions and comments and difficulties with parking. And it's not really their job to kind of monitoring parking on the street. They have enough to do with, helping our dogs and doing what's best for the shelter, but to then also be kind of traffic cops. It's just, I don't want to see that for Riverside Drive. So those are my comments, and appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, looks like there are none. So let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and close the public comments. And go ahead. We'll reopen.
I'm Susan Doan, and I'm the one that sent the email in. I think what this gentleman said is nice and wonderful, and back of Riverside Drive. I live on the corner of Orchard and Riverside. I have to tell you, while this sounds beautiful, it really isn't. I have hundreds of dogs walking by, walking on my yard, dropping bags of poop, barking, and even though they say these shelters, I don't know about their shelters. I'm speaking to Dog Republic and the one right behind my property. Those dogs are not in covered shelters, and they bark 24/7. I have a unit on the back of the property, and I can't keep a tenant in there, and I need that income from that little rental property. And to hear those dogs bark and yell breaks my heart. And I'm not saying that all 16 kennels are that way, but the ones near me. So I just objected to people expanding their shelters with all their pretty rhetoric. I love animals. I have rescue pets myself, but I'm certainly not letting them poop and urinate on other people's property and scatter stuff. And they steal my mail, and they park in front of my house. He was right. The parking is atrocious. And some of the kennels are told not to park in front of their property, that it's for their customers. So they park on Orchard, block my access to my house, and something that I'm against. And it's 29 dogs. It used to be more than that. So that's like 400 dogs a day that could possibly walk along on Orchard. If they could go to the park at the end of the street, but the owners of the kennels and some of the people I've talked to have said the city will not allow it. I'm not sure how that works, but the park at the end of Orchard, it's like on a cul-de-sac. no one ever there, but they could take the dogs there instead of having them walk across our property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments before we close? Go ahead and close the public comments section. We'll start here. Is there any other questions for staff, for the commissioners? And Mark?
Patrick, I had one quick question. In handwritten page 55, which is the site plan, there are 3 parking spaces that are identified on that property. And then there's sort of a piece of the driveway that's not identified behind or maybe in front of spaces 1 and 2. Is that just, you can't count that because it would be blocking in the other vehicle, or?
That's correct. If a space were to be placed there, it wouldn't allow access for the other vehicles to maneuver in and out of the space.
Because it feels like if the first 2 were people that worked there, that's where people are going to actually park.
From my understanding, excuse me.
That was my thought, was the reasoning behind why that space wasn't counted, because I saw 4. And
Yes, from my understanding and working with Public Works, this is the maximum number of spaces they'd be able to provide with the restrictions, including the city street tree, as I mentioned, and the existing structure. So for Fawn Bus, or the city's animal shelter, that was code compliant and provided 4 spaces. They didn't have those challenges with the tree or the existing structure because it was all new. Staff has also received some comments about the parking along Riverside Drive. It's notable that that's related to other operators and construction vehicles from projects along Riverside Drive.
that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Let me expand on that, Mr. Rosine. Staff, you're going to drive in that driveway. There's an employee car in the back. It says employee, correct?
That's correct.
And then right behind that, it says guest. Somebody's going to park behind that. So what? And if the guest 1, it has to go. I mean, how long are people here? Dropping them off? I mean, applicant, could you come up and answer that? They're by appointment. Where's the applicant? Oh, didn't see him back there.
We'll go ahead and reopen the public hearing and have the applicant answer some questions.
Hi. So again, I stated that it's by appointment only. Appointments would only be an hour to an hour and a half at a time, and it wouldn't be any more than 2 a day. 2 a week, if that. So, yeah, we were very restricted with our parking, having to comply with the ADA, codes that you guys have and stuff.
I'm not referring to that. This with the space to the left of that. The extended driveway when you come in off the Riverside.
I see.
You could probably get 2 cars in there if they were small. I mean,
I believe by code we can't, because we have to be certain feet away from walls and so on.
Commissioner Ketting, if I may. So, I'm looking at the imagery online and I understand what the concern is. So you're right. There probably could be another vehicle that can squeeze behind there, and so a 4th vehicle. But speaking with Public Works, from a circulation standpoint, from access, we could only count 3 parking spaces for this application.
okay, maybe I shouldn't have brought it up, but I think somebody could slip in there. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for the applicant before we close?
Before you run off, just.
Sir?
So the tenant of the household will park in one spot, and then an employee will park in the other spot, and then a guest would park in the 3rd spot, or?
No, the 3rd spot is
Handicap.
Is handicapped.
Yeah,
Correct.
so somebody will have to park on the street, or is there going to be just one employee and one?
Only one employee.
And that person lives in the house?
That would be me.
All right.
Thank you. All right, since we opened the public comments again, any other public comments? See none, we'll go ahead and close again. And we'll bring it back up to the commissioners again if there's any questions for staff or Any discussion amongst ourselves? Commissioner Kleiman?
I just wanted to know, condition number 14, I think might be a typo. I'm assuming you meant to say between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., not vice versa?
That shouldn't be a typo there. Those are the nighttime hours under the city's noise ordinance. So that's when the decibels change and it gets reduced. So that should be correct as written.
14 or 15?
Are you referring to?
I'm referring
condition
to
of
14, yeah. Dogs should only be outside during the daytime, correct? Not between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m.
Oh, I see. Yes, that is correct. That condition can be modified. Thank you for noting that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion with that modification in mind to approve this. I think the applicant, I can make all the findings here. So I'll motion to approve PA 2021-217.
I'll second that and thank the applicant and the people with the money behind it for doing such a tremendous project.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. And we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 5, which is the Ritz-Carlton Residences, PA 2021-296. And we will go ahead and start with the staff's presentation. I believe it's Mr. Campbell.
Yes, Commissioner Lowry, bear with me a moment. Let me fire this up. Okay. All right, Chair Lowry, members of the Planning Commission, I'm Jim Campbell, your Deputy Community Development Director. I'm going to present this item on the Ritz-Carlton Residences. The Ritz-Carlton Residences proposed at 900 Newport Center Drive, which is the existing Vea Newport Beach Marriott Resort and Spa here in Newport Center. So surrounding areas are Fashion Island, Granville, residential community, the Meridian, and the Newport Beach Country Club, and other office and commercial uses in the vicinity. So the Ritz-Carlton Residences involves roughly 2.75 acres of the 9.5 acre Vea Newport Beach site. The demolition will involve a pre-coastal act portion of the hotel on those 2.78 acres and convert 159 existing hotel rooms to hotel-branded residences. And that would equate to approximately 30% of the existing 532-room hotel. Also involved the construction of a 22-story, 295-foot tall residential condominium tower that we'll be describing a little bit later in the presentation. I want to also note that there's no affordable housing included within this proposal, but there will be the payment of an affordable housing fee to the city to support affordable housing construction elsewhere in the community. There'll be the construction of a 408-space subterranean parking garage under the tower, as well as there'll also be reconstruction of the existing Vea Newport Beach parking structure. So it'll be expanded in a smaller footprint. It'll be providing 400 parking spaces. So this is the overall site plan here. So the existing hotel complex is on the right, and you see Santa Barbara and Newport Center Drive here at the bottom of the imagery, and Fashion Island is located to the left, lower left, and the Newport Beach Country Club to the top of the image. So the residential building will be located here. The new parking structure for the hotel will be located there. We have existing vehicular access to the hotel that will be maintained in the existing locations as shown. We have an additional driveway to the parking structure will be located on Newport Center Drive in yellow. Then we have the main entry to the Ritz-Carlton branded residences located in the green, and that does kind of line up with the existing driveway from Fashion Island, consistent with recommendations from Public Works. There's an additional service entrance driveway that will be located on the eastern edge of the project site for the driveway along the top of the image for the site. This is the entry plan here, kind of showing a circular turnaround with guard access and gates into a circular turnaround for the project. So might want to note that there's extensive landscaping throughout the entire site. So this is the amenity plan. This is the pool area and deck. The condominium tower would be located on the left-hand side of the image, and then there's an event lawn that would serve both the Ritz-Carlton residences and the Via Newport Beach, which is actually located on the far right-hand side of the image right there. Now, the applicant's going to be doing an extensive presentation of the amenities and the overall architecture of the building, so I'm going to be, this is the limit of the description of the project that I'm going to be going forward with. But the applicant will be providing additional imagery. So the application before the Planning Commission this evening is a major site development review, modification permit, conditional use permit, coastal development permit for the overall project, as well as a vesting tentative map for the sale of the condominiums. We've conducted an environmental review. We prepared an addendum to the 2006 General Plan Update Program EIR, and I'll be summarizing that momentarily. I want to go over a notice. We did provide notice to the community consistent with the municipal code as described above. There was a scrivener's error, so I want to acknowledge that. And that scrivener's error is limited really to whether or not the project site is within the appeal jurisdiction of the Coastal Commission. The notice incorrectly indicated that it was. This site is not located within the appeal jurisdiction for the Coastal Commission. The only kind of appeal that can be filed for this project is to the City Council. So we corrected that notice. We provided that to the community. We hand-delivered it to everyone within 300 feet. We put it online. We updated the agenda to note this. So we wanted to provide as much notice as possible. We don't find this notice that was provided to be legally deficient. I want to do a little bit of background here. In March of 2021, the City Council adopted Council Policy K4. It's entitled Reducing Barriers to the Creation of Housing. That really directed staff to develop and modify different strategies to promote and accelerate housing development within the community, including mixed-use hotels, meaning residential at resort hotels. The council policy limited that conversion to 30% of the existing hotel rooms on a one-for-one basis, meaning one hotel room would be equal to one residential unit. The project is consistent with these parameters. The additional item was that it would not be located in the Coastal Commission appeal area, and I indicated that it is not. So the council policy directed staff to go forward with this, and in that regard, we created director's determination, and that actually is the interpretation that does allow for residential use at a resort hotel complex, again with that conversion on a one-for-one room to residential use basis. That determination was reviewed by the Planning Commission on 2 occasions, once before that director's determination was finalized, and then once afterward on appeal. So you saw this back in, I believe it was July of last year. That was also then appealed to the City Council and also reviewed, and that determination was upheld. And so I also want to point out that no legal challenge to that interpretation was levied, and the statute of limitations has expired. And so the question of whether or not we're consistent with the general plan is actually been decided, and it's really not before the commission this evening, whether the residential use is allowable under these conditions. The council policy and the director's determination have already established that for the commission. And so I also wanted to point out that these kinds of interpretations and determinations are allowed of unlisted uses in the zoning code is very common. We do this on a day-to-day basis when people come to the counter, but I also want to point out we've done this for the new fire station on the peninsula. The fire station is not allowed use in the CV zone. We went through the identical process to do a director's determination, and then that was put forth. And the Coastal Commission did not voice any concerns with that interpretation. So just want to make sure that the commissioners understand that this is these types of determinations are very common. Again, back to general plan consistency. We do have findings to make in the resolution. Again, consistency with the visitor serving land use category, and it's all stemming from that council policy and that director's determination, as I indicated, that residential use up to 30% of the hotel rooms would be an accessory use to the visitor serving hotel use, and we have those conditions here. The land use element for this particular site at 900 Newport Center Drive does limit the site to 611 hotel rooms. 79 of those rooms were transferred off of the site back in 2012, and so the limit here is 532 rooms, and in the context of this conversion that's before us, it's 532 rooms residential, the combination of residential units and rooms will not exceed 532. So we're consistent in that regard. So the project also does assist the city in achieving its housing goals. We're producing housing up to 159 units. As I indicated, there's no affordable housing in the project, but the project will be contributing $65,000 a unit to the community for the creation of affordable housing elsewhere in the community. And so the math on this, it's over $10 million, and that's a good seed money for our affordable housing fund. I want to point out that we do have a history of conversions of use. In 2012, we have 2 conversions that the City Council approved. One was for tennis courts to hotel rooms, and that was done at the Newport Beach Country Club, which is directly adjacent to the project site. And then there was an additional, and I also want to point out that the Coastal Commission actually did endorse that by issuing a coastal development permit for that hotel and as a subsequent CDP. The other conversion was where the council approved hotel rooms to residential units, and that's the 79 units that I mentioned here, and those were transferred to another site in Newport Center for the Villas Fashion Island. So I want to move on to zoning consistency. The zoning is consistent with the general plan with the CV visitor serving zoning district. Again, we're consistent with that, and that's all predicated on that director's determination, which has already been decided. It is allowable to have up to 30% of residential units at the resort hotel complex, and that is what the project is proposing. It does comply with development standards. We are below the high-rise height limitation zone of 300 feet. Parking exceeds the residential and hotel requirements with the structures I mentioned earlier, and the project does exceed minimum setback requirements. I wanted to point out the high-rise height limitation zone because I know that's been of concern to some. This is the basic area that the high-rise height limitation zone where structures up to 300 feet are allowed in the Newport Center area, and this does implement general plan policy LU 614-4, which is to locate the taller buildings closer to San Joaquin Hills, and the project site is noted with a star there. So we are consistent with that high-rise height limitation zone. Again, the building is 295 feet tall, and the limit is 300 feet. I want to touch upon the local coastal program. Again, we are consistent with the visitor serving land use category. Again, back to that director's determination that I've mentioned. The analysis shows that there's really no impact to coastal resources, there's no impact to coastal views, there's no impact to the visual quality of the coastal zone. Newport Center is a very urbanized area. There are tall buildings in Newport Center, and again, this building will be visible. It doesn't block public views, but it doesn't change the visual quality of the area because it is urbanized with taller buildings. We did a study consistent with the LCP, and that's in your packet. There is no impact to lower cost accommodations. That's a required analysis of the LCP. The impact to the reduction of hotel rooms to paying guests is also addressed through the payment of a fee, and there's a condition of approval for the payment of $10,700 for the reduction in access. See, the public can access those rooms now, and they won't have access to those in the future. And so those funds would be going to fund a public access improvement or recreational improvement within the community for the general public. And so that issue is addressed. And so, again, the site is not located in the Coastal Commission's appeal jurisdiction. I want to move on. I want to acknowledge the fact we did receive a letter from Carl Schwing, the Deputy Director of the Coastal Commission. That letter was dated yesterday. It's in your packet, and a response letter has been provided by staff and prepared and circulated, and it's available for the public to review as well. In summary, we don't believe that there is any violation of the LCP or the Coastal Act with this project. And that letter goes through a little more detail. There's no permit that's required from the Coastal Commission. We are a certified agency. The city has been granted that authority to issue coastal development permits for new development within the coastal zone. And again, this area is not within that appeal jurisdiction. That letter does cite that there could be some sort of action with the Coastal Commission, and that all stems from not getting a permit from the Coastal Commission. And this project does not require a permit for the Coastal Commission, so we don't believe that that is actually applicable in this case. And that letter does also go through, Mr. Schwing's letter goes through, and his indication is that an amendment to the LCP would be required, and that is not the case as well. Again, we went through the director's determination stemming from the council policy. This is the local agency interpreting its own regulations. We were exercising the authority granted within the LCP to make interpretations. We exercised that, and that was already finalized, if you will, last year, and it was not litigated, and the statute of limitations is run. So that issue really isn't before us as well. And so, in summary, we feel that we can proceed forward with this project in consistency with the LCP. Back to the Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. So SOMAS prepared the addendum for this project and examined the project. The environmental consultant is here to answer any questions that you may have. The result of that analysis is that there is no new significant effect from the project relative to the 2006 General Plan EIR analysis. In summary, the development will be visible, but there will be no public views obstructed. Shading doesn't affect sensitive land uses. Traffic trips are reduced, and it does also help the city to meet housing policy goals. And again, that's a very high-level summary, but the environmental consultant is here to answer any specific questions you may have. Want to touch base on the fiscal benefits of the project. So there is condition that indicates the payment of fees in the total of $100,000 per unit, and it's broken down as you see on the slide here. We also examined the changes to our tax structure. You know, we have transient occupancy tax and property taxes. And part of the director's determination is that when we do these conversions, we want to make sure that we don't have a reduction in our tax base, because obviously we'll be losing those hotel rooms, and so what's the change going on? And so that analysis that is provided in your packet shows that it will be about a $7.7 million increase over the next 20 years, and the amounts are there shown for you. So with the approval of this project, you know, we're not removing, in fact, we're still enhancing our tax base. So that is my presentation. The recommended actions are to conduct a public hearing, find the addendum appropriate, and adopt the resolution in your packet approving the projects and all the applications listed. As I indicated, the staff, the applicant's representative is here, and they can show the building a little bit more. I mean, I just went high-level overview of the site plan, but the applicant's presentation will kind of fill in the blanks of what the building looks like, what the landscaping is like, and how it will operate. So, but I'm available throughout to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Before we move to the applicant, any questions for staff?
I have a question. When the director's determination was made, was the Coastal Commission notified of that determination?
Yes, they were, and they provided a comment letter, and we addressed that comment letter in a response letter back to them. And in fact, that response letter is in your packet. So they did participate in that process. They were informed of it, and they took no additional steps beyond commenting on that action. They did not file any action challenging that.
Did they have an appeal period after when the determination is made, a window or anything like that they have to hit?
It would have been 60 days following the decision, the final decision on it.
Okay. And was that within the 60 days when they sent that letter?
They did not.
Okay.
The letter they sent was in advance of that determination, so the city had the full benefit of their comments when we went through this process. Even the commission and the city council saw those comments. And staff provided a response letter back to the Coastal Commission staff members who issued those comments. So all of that information was available at the time and examined. But they took no action to follow up with some sort of action after it was approved.
And then the window closed. Yeah.
And that window did close.
Got it. Thanks.
Any more questions from commissioners at this point? Seeing none, then we'll do ex parte communications, and let's start with Commissioner Rosine.
I met with the applicant's consultant, and I toured the property.
I too met with the applicant and consultants on site and have spoken to some of their consultants thereafter.
I had some correspondence with the applicant's consultant.
I met with the applicant.
I met with the applicant and toured the property.
I met with the applicant, toured the property.
I met with the applicant, their consultants on property, toured the facility at the VEA, and then the potential for where the development will be.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we'll go ahead and open up the public comments section, and we'll start with the applicant.
Okay. Good evening, Chair Lowry, members of the commission. I am Shauna Schaffner, Chief Executive Officer of CAA Planning, representing Newport Center Hotel LLC in this application before you this evening. Before I begin, I would like to thank Simone Jurgis, the Community Development Director, Jim Campbell, Deputy Director, Tony Bryan, your traffic engineer. City staff is incredibly professional, and they are incredibly helpful in their work, and so we thank them for their efforts on this project. I also just want to apologize. I had some technical issues. This was a PowerPoint. It's now a PDF. It's a very sad PDF. So please bear with me. I tried to make things really stand out for you, and it's a little bit less than I had hoped tonight for such a great project. Oh, but here we go. It works. So this is a project that will introduce accessory hotel-branded residences to an existing resort hotel campus. Accessory residences are permitted through the conversion of up to 30% of the approved existing hotel rooms, and there is no net increase to intensity. The project will include the demolition of aging portions of the property and construction of new accessory residences and a new hotel parking structure. Accessory residential is a key component to a thriving hospitality campus. This is a project with local ownership. Eagle 4 Partners and Lion Living are businesses based in Newport Beach. Their leaders and their families live in Newport. Their kids attend Newport Beach schools. This team is investing in the community directly with their various properties, including the Newport Beach Country Club and the Balboa Bay Resort and Club, and also through their substantial philanthropic activities. The former Newport Beach Marriott, now the Vea Newport Beach, a Marriott Resort and Spa, has undergone a transformational $70 million repositioning. This includes upbranding the resort to a luxury property in order to elevate the experience for Newport Beach. Hotel-branded residences are a growing trend within the hotel industry, and incorporating accessory residences is a perfectly legitimate use within this property to strengthen the resort hotel. The community engagement is also a critical component to the success of the hotel. There are 3 target guests for Vea: those that enjoy for the day, those that stay for the night, and those that live there forever. The hotel-branded residences will be operated under the Marriott campus through the Marriott management team led by General Manager Debbie Snavely. In 2020, the hotel industry was devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which destroyed hotel business plans, and a lot of hotels closed, including a prominent hotel here in Newport Center. Then, just a few months later, the city received the RENA allocations, indicating that thousands of new residential units were required to be built. In March of 2021, the City Council adopted Policy K4, entitled Reducing the Barriers to the Creation of Housing, which encouraged staff to aggressively implement various strategies, including through repurposing resort hotels. Policy K4 was followed by Director's Determination, interpreting accessory residential as an allowed use within resort hotels. And as Mr. Campbell has summarized, the Planning Commission and the City Council both upheld that Director's Determination in appeals. This is a very straightforward application in front of you tonight. There is no general plan, zoning, or LCP amendment, and no variances are requested. The Planning Commission is the approval authority for this application. Here we see the project site outlined in red. The project includes demolition of the 1970s-era Harbor Landing building, which we see in purple, and also the demolition of the existing hotel parking structure shown in blue. The hotel parking structure will be reconstructed in a smaller footprint that we see here in yellow. And here is the completed site. The development will include a new gate-controlled entry drive leading to the porte cochere. The project will be 100% valet for all residents and guests. The indoor open space amenities will include a gym and fitness facilities, locker rooms, spa treatment rooms, concierge services, an owner's room featuring billiards, a library, and other uses, and on-site private storage. Outdoor amenities will include a resort-style pool and spa, lounge seating, tranquil gardens, and a pet area. Related to the site development review permit, the project is consistent with all city standards, including height, setbacks, and the project exceeds the parking requirements. The main residential entry is shown in the light green cross, kind of on the far right bottom of your screen, and it shows that the driveway will align with the existing intersection at Fashion Island. And in the red, you see the fire access and service drive, which will ensure that vehicles are off of Newport Center Drive and there will be no impact from those vehicles to the street. There is no net increase in intensity here. Again, the general plan allows for 532 hotel rooms. With the conversion, we would have up to 159 accessory residential, 373 hotel rooms, again, 532 total. As Mr. Campbell described, the project will actually result in a reduction in traffic. This is a table from the CEQA addendum, which shows that there will be a reduction in AM and PM peak hour trips and a reduction of 549 average daily traffic trips. The project site is also located in the city's high-rise height area, which allows for buildings 300 feet in height. And then on the right of the screen, you see an image from the original master plan for Newport Center. You can see that the two tallest buildings are depicted on this property. And here we have the east elevation. The building is 22 stories in height and is 279 feet above ground, with rooftop appurtenances extending to 295 feet. And here is a site section from the north side of the building. You can see the porte cochere and entry gate on the left and subterranean parking below. The building will be oriented on the site to reduce the bulk and scale as viewed from Newport Center and the surrounding properties. I apologize, I'm having some clicker problems. Here we go. This is a section depicting the setback between Newport Center Drive and the new residential building. There will be about a 45-foot setback from Newport Center. And this is a section depicting the fire access and service drive, which will be screened from view. And here is the hotel parking structure that is being reconstructed in the smaller footprint. It is maintaining the same height and setback as the existing hotel parking structure. And we have brought a materials board for the Commission's review tonight. The structure will feature high-quality materials, including wood, stone, steel, and metal accents, and glass fiber reinforced concrete. The design will feature expansive openings and glass. These are materials that are inspired by and consistent with the iconic buildings in Newport Center, which feature heavy concrete banding and a lot of glass. The design is also inspired by the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, which launches this summer. The project has also taken inspiration from the location here in Newport Beach, which has one of the finest pleasure craft harbors on the West Coast. The next few exhibits will depict renderings of the property to focus on the building architecture. You can see the concrete banding and ample use of glass. You can also see the slight curvature of the facade, invoking that luxury yacht feel. And here is the project entry as viewed from Newport Center Drive, which will utilize the same high-quality materials. And here's a view through the porte cochere, looking towards the building's entry. From the exterior, we see the gentle curvature of the building, the use of wood, steel railings, and stone accents. And here's a rendering showing the generous balconies to take advantage of the indoor-outdoor living that is so popular in Newport Beach. Here's a drone image taken from MacArthur and San Joaquin Hills Road. This image depicts the consistent use of concrete bands and glass within Newport Center and shows how this design will be compatible with the existing architecture. These view simulations demonstrate that there are no view impacts from the project. Here is a view from Castaways. Here is a view from the yacht streets. Here is a view from Spyglass Hill Road. It is clear that this is a building that is well situated and appropriate in the high-rise height zone. And finally, here we have a view from the entry of the Granville residential community. The next component of the project is a modification permit. The modification permit is required in order to utilize tandem parking spaces. The project will be 100% valet for residents and guests, and the parking management plan and valet plan will ensure that the tandem parking spaces are well managed. The only need for the modification permit is simply because there are tandem spaces. And the conditional use permit is required by the director's determination to ensure that there's adequate parking and also to ensure that there's not a loss associated with TOT. The project exceeds the parking requirement for both the hotel and the accessory residential, and the TOT from VEA and the property tax combined will result in $136 million in revenues to the city over 20 years, which is a $40 million increase compared to no investment in the property. A city-issued coastal development permit is required. The project site is located at the outermost boundary of the coastal zone. It is located outside of the appeal jurisdiction. The Harbor Landing Building is pre-Coastal Act. It is not subject to Coastal Commission authority or to a prior coastal permit. And there are no impacts to coastal resources or low-cost accommodations. The project will contribute a public benefit fee of $100,000 per unit. That includes a general public benefit of $22,300 per unit, public safety of $2,000 per unit, future improvements to public coastal access of $10,700 per unit, and future acquisition and construction of affordable housing at $65,000 per unit. The public outreach on this project has been extensive. It was initiated prior to the application being submitted. The team has conducted more than 25 formal outreach meetings and has met with SPAWN, interested landowners, neighbors, city leaders, community members, and business leaders. We have written acknowledgments or support letters from SPAWN, Granville HOA, the Meridian HOA, Newport Beach Country Club, the Tennis Club, and others. So finally, the project is consistent with all city development standards. There are no plan amendments or variances required. There is no new intensity, and the process is consistent with prior conversions and determinations, and of course, Council Policy K4 and the Director's determination. There are no new environmental impacts, and the project will reduce traffic. And the TOT and property tax combined will result in $136 million in revenues to the city over 20 years, and that is in addition to the public benefit fees that will be paid. This is an accessory residential component, and it will help ensure a thriving hospitality campus at VEA. And we urge the Planning Commission to approve the project consistent with the staff recommendation. Our extensive team is here for any questions that you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There'll probably some questions here. Maybe we'll start down at the end with Commissioner Rosine if there's any questions, and we'll just move down this way.
Thank you for the presentation. We've been looking at this for a long time, and you've answered so many of the questions that I've had, both on-site and just through correspondence, and I really appreciate that. It did occur to me as I was sitting here, and I know for sure you've thought about it, and I'm sure that's built into this, but the reconfiguration of the parking and the timing and how that works, because it's the existing parking structure, and it looks like it's a portion of that existing structure will be reconfigured to be just the hotel. How does that work? I wonder if there's a way you could just briefly describe that.
Sure. I should note there's a condition of approval in your staff report that requires the submittal of a detailed construction management plan that will deal with parking on the temporary basis. We have relationships with surrounding office properties that are not at full capacity, with an existing hotel that is currently shuttered, an ample parking field elsewhere. So we have many parking fields that we can avail ourselves of, and we will have to submit that information in detail to the city before we can get a permit. But generally, the parking has been working. It's going to continue to work. This renovation has been very disruptive, and the team over there is doing a great job at keeping it going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's clear. I guess my question is when that's reconfigured, will the portion that's actually shown in, it was shown in yellow somewhere, will that stay or will that be demolished and a new one put in place? I was just wondering.
Yeah, thank you for that question. The parking structure will be demolished. A new parking structure will be constructed, which will include subterranean levels in order to make sure that we have an adequate number of parking spaces.
Yes, very thorough presentation. Thank you. Some of my questions, including where do people take their pets, I believe you answered, noting the pet area. Kind of piggybacking on that construction conversation, when the project is complete, what about, maintenance vehicles and, the plumber, the renovation? Where would those vehicles go?
Yes, absolutely. If we could go to, let's see, I have a slide addressing this. If we could go to page 59, please. I believe it's 59 of this. Yes, please. While they're trying to pull that up, I'll try to address your question. The service drive that I mentioned will provide access to employees. So employee parking will be accessed through the service drive. There is a section outside of the parking structure for maintenance vehicles explicitly. Thank you very much. Okay, so we see the red area is the main entry. This is the guest and resident entry. The blue area is employee access, and where that arrow terminates, there's an entrance into the parking structure. And so employees will go in that way. Just past that, and I have a different depiction of it as well that I might pull up, there is an exterior maintenance vehicle parking area. And then beyond that, the green line and the yellow go under the building for refuse, delivery, those sort of services. So all of those will be outside of the service drive. There won't be any parking. There are parking spaces designated so that no one will be blocking that service and fire access.
Okay.
And maybe we could go to page 43 as well, please. Here we go. So, and I apologize, it's not highlighted, but in the very middle of the screen, Jim, can you go down, please? Keep going to the right, please. To the right. Yep, right, don't go back. There, that is maintenance vehicle parking. It was highlighted and animated before, and then my PowerPoint revolted. So there you see that. If you keep going to the right, you will see the employee, yep, right in there is where the employees will pull in, and then we'll go back to the left, and we see the loading docks where the large, moving vans, delivery trucks, trash trucks will all have a staging area there.
Okay. And then just for kind of daily, like errand running, groceries, things like that, presumably assisted by the valet if you pull up and you have a car full of groceries to unload?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then I know you've got those bigger kind of penthouse units at the top there, but on the roof, everything, all the HVAC and whatever other, maintenance type facilities are located there. Are they all covered and?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Kleiman. There is a screen built around the rooftop appurtenances, including the elevator overruns, and so all of that mechanical equipment will be screened in and not visible from either distant areas or even from the rooftop area.
Okay, and then I just had a question about the older Marriott building that this would be replacing. I don't know if this is a question for you to answer or someone else from your team about the occupancy rate for those older units.
Yes, those units are very old. They're more motel-style units, and they represent about 8% of the revenue generated by the hotel. So they are the last to rent. They are the most complained about, and they've reached the end of their useful life.
Okay. Oh, I just had one more question about sales. It looks like it looks like you're projecting about 4 years of sales. So you think it'll take 4 years to, in theory, sell out 159 units? That's
Yeah, I think that there was a lot that went into the economic analysis,
Mhm.
and we feel pretty good about those figures.
Okay. Do you know what the Coastal Commission considers low-cost accommodations, what that bracket looks like?
Yes, there is a statewide average for low-cost accommodations. I believe it's about $135 a room right now. I don't know if staff have an opinion on that.
I don't have the specific number, but it's in that range. It's below $150 a night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for a very thorough presentation. As part of the addendum EIR that was put together, you discussed some of the traffic analysis and the trip generation out here having a reduction. Was there a requirement to study any VMT out here?
Perhaps we could defer to the city's consultant, Somas, who prepared that analysis. She might be able to opine on that. I can't remember right now. I apologize.
I think I can jump in here. No, there wasn't a requirement for a VMT analysis because it's actually a trip reduction for the project. And we wouldn't typically look at doing a VMT analysis unless it was above the 300 trip TPO to begin with, and then there's also screened out areas. So the fact that it was a trip reduction meant that there wasn't a VMT.
Okay. And then you also had a good slide that you showed in your presentation that shows the boundaries of the coastal zone. Just a question, and I'm not sure if this would be answered by you or by staff, but we keep talking about this not being in an appealable area for the Coastal Commission. Are there certain areas in the coastal zone that they can't appeal, or is this part of the director's determination?
Certainly, I can jump in on this one. This is a accurate representation of the appeal jurisdiction map approved, the jurisdiction and appeal area approved by the Coastal Commission. So the jurisdictional areas are in the red hashed areas, and the blue area that you see here is actually the appeal jurisdiction. And you'll also notice a couple of blue blobs, if you will, around the country club, right in here, here, and here. What those areas are those are the ponds at the golf course. And so what that's depicting is basically a wetland area. And so the appeal jurisdiction actually runs with those resources. So if there's a wetland, then there's an appealed area around that wetland. And if they're even not mapped on this map, the appeal jurisdiction goes with those resources. And so right now, based on this map, there are no appeal areas, there are no wetland areas that are known to exist within the area. There's no other coastal resources that would establish any kind of an appeal right within proximity to this project site. And so we feel comfortable in representing to the commission and the community that this is not within the appeal jurisdiction.
Thank you. That's all.
Very good presentation. Some explanations I'd like to hear, and it may not be from you, but somebody else in your team. Tell everybody what hotel branded residences are for those who missed it the first 3 times.
Yes. Hotel branded residences are residential units that are a part of a larger hotel campus that have hotel-style amenities, including concierge service, beautiful pools, things like that. These are very popular. Expanding markets are just, the past 10 years, there's been extraordinary growth in them. And I think the past 3 years in particular, pre-COVID, there have been more than 400 hotel-branded residential projects developed worldwide. So we see these are ever more popular as people want to stay in their community, but perhaps have a little bit more service where they live.
And if you lived here, you obviously use the restaurants at the hotel, and they're convenient. So this is a new concept for hospitality.
It is an established concept for hospitality, but it is newer.
All right. Now some technical things. construction fencing along the back of Granville. You have any idea, are we going to see a 6-foot wire fence with some green tennis screening on it?
Perhaps we could pull back up maybe slide 10 so that I can talk about this in more detail. Thank you, Commissioner Ketting, for this question. There will be a 15-foot tall construction fence that is a sound dampening fence to reduce noise that will go essentially around the yellow area, around the purple area, and then down towards Newport Center in order to minimize the construction noise impacts for all the surrounding residents, offices, and including the hotel guests. So it's a big priority for the hotel as well to minimize the noise.
So it's a framed,
That's right, yes. It is a 15-foot tall acoustical dampening construction barrier.
all right, we've never seen one of those around here.
This is newer. I believe that Pacifica Christian School tried to employ something like this with limited success, but yeah.
All right, my favorite, since the car wash, I drilled down on this. Show me where and how moving vans will get in and out of here.
I had a great animation for you.
Because those circular drives, I question.
Yes, absolutely. Jim, can we please go back to slide 59? And then we're going to jump again to 43. Okay, so again, here we see with the blue, green, and yellow, this is the service drive. This is a right in, right out access from Newport Center. It is, the green represents the service. So this would be, delivery vehicles, cars that are there, big cars, big trucks that are there to provide service. And then the yellow is the trash. Similar to the yellow, we will have the moving vans. So let's jump to 43, and I'll show you the bay where the moving vans will go. It is a double-wide bay for moving vans to accommodate, and I apologize, you can see the outline of the moving vans within the yellow highlighted area, but they are a little bit light.
What level is that?
That is below the first level. So this is basement 1.
All right.
So this will tuck under the building. The service drive will go down in elevation as it follows the grade. So no one will see these.
So they'll go down, back in, and offload and move on.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I understand it now. All right, that's one level down. All right. Unrelated, tell us about why senior affordable housing was earmarked for the allocation of the funds.
Commissioner Ketting, so that on the condition, it is a typo. It was an old version, so it's no longer designated as senior. So we would like to amend that condition number 7. I'm so sorry.
Somebody my age?
But we can use it for senior. We just don't want to designate it as senior.
So it's to be determined.
It is for affordable housing, but not only for seniors. It could be for any level.
All right. For now, that'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You call it a branded residence on the renderings. There is no signage. Do you plan to have signage, or is the plan to keep it clean of all future signage?
We didn't submit a sign program with this application. I think it's a little premature for that. If there will be monument signage, we'll have to come back for a sign program. I apologize, I don't have any sign details tonight.
Okay. So as it sits right now, you're undecided on any building signage?
I haven't been privy to any discussions at all about signage. I think signage generally takes place later on. Perhaps I can consult with my client real quick if you want to give me 1 second.
Sure.
Thank you. We will submit a sign program in the future when any sign details are known.
Okay, thank you.
Peter, you had one?
No, I'll come back to it.
You're good? Okay. Skip over it.
You get me now. I did have some questions. I wanted to expand on Commissioner Kleiman's comment on both, two things I think she had brought up, but the aging rooms. So does the hotel or the landowners have the right to build a hotel at 300 feet, you know, and get rid of those motel-style units and just by right build a hotel if they wanted to that had the same amount of residents but in hotel rooms?
Not a by right. They would be doing the same exact process of a site development review permit, a conditional use permit, a coastal development permit, and anything else that might be required.
But they would be able to qualify for the exact same process that we're discussing here tonight?
The applications that we're discussing here tonight would be similar to that.
Gotcha. And as far as timing, when construction starts and when it will be open for sales, how long would that process take?
Yes, the project construction, specifically the demolition is anticipated to be about 6 months and the construction about 36 months. So we're looking about 42 months.
Got it. And then I noticed you did a really great job of reaching out to the community. That's something that I'm always a big proponent of doing. And you started early and you did it often. So I want to commend you for doing that. You reached out to a lot of important groups in our city that have had over the years a significant impact on the growth and development of our city and are important to me and to a lot in the public that's behind you. So I appreciate that. I wasn't given any of this information. Somebody emailed me earlier today and asked a question related to the item. And I scrolled down and saw a bunch of an email from a group called Concerned Residents Newport. Was that a group that you were privy to meeting with? Or I never have heard of them before. It seems relatively new. But did you get a chance to meet with them?
No, we're not aware of who that group is or who they're represented by.
Okay.
And we haven't been contacted by them.
There's an image on here that shows a picture from the bay and this pretty monstrosity. It doesn't seem very consistent with the photos that you showed. So I think it kind of is a little disservice to the applicant here because it, from every image that I showed, doesn't look anything like it. And it does have a disclaimer that says the rendering was created for discussion purposes to show the possible detrimental effects on the Newport skyline of the proposed Marriott residential tower and possible follow-on developments, rendering taken from City of Newport Beach website. I don't ever have seen that rendering, but
The rendering that I've seen, which is on a letterhead sort of thing from their email, is this building. It was taken off of the fire master plan. So the view that they are showing is this view that one would see from Fashion Island, not from the water.
yeah, it just kind of seems disingenuous. Okay, so this SOMAS, is that you guys or is that city staff? I had some questions in regards to it.
Certainly. SOMA was hired under contract to the city to provide the environmental analysis, and the project manager is here for any questions that you might have.
Yeah, I just had a couple questions on these. It seemed like everything that was comparing and contrasting the existing hotel rooms versus the proposed residences was less than. I don't know what greenhouse gas emission, I don't understand. The project's total net annual emissions are 156 MTCO2E/year less than the existing hotel. Is that a lot? Is that a small amount? Is that, I'm sorry, that part of my science never got that far in college. So I'm just curious, is that a significant or is that just kind of it's good, we're less than the hotel, but.
Hello, members of the commission. My name is Alia Hukogi. I'm a project manager at SOMAS. Now, in terms of GHG and air quality, I believe a specialist from LSA is here, and
Oh, now you're in the hot seat. You're the next contestant.
but I'll be here if I can manage.
Yeah, I might have a couple more.
Okay, so as to your question, we did compare the proposed project based on the, against the existing use. And the existing use does generate higher air quality and greenhouse gas emissions than the proposed use would. And a lot of that is due to that there is a net reduction in vehicle trips, which is typically the highest emission generator.
156 difference, is that pretty significant?
I mean, it's lower, so yeah, I mean,
Okay. And then I see noise is a lot less. That's pretty self-explanatory. Transportation is less. I see that as pretty self-explanatory. You go from existing 4,200 average daily trips to just 722. It's pretty significant. Utilities and service systems, cubic feet for the hotel peak wastewater flow versus what the wastewater flow. What is that? Just like toilets and things like that? Is that?
utilities.
So that would be basically, yes, runoff and anything related to wastewater and sewage.
Got it, got it. And then there was another spot here that then went into wastewater, and it said 7,900 or 79,000 gallons per day per room versus 33 gallons per day. But then in the parentheses it says 150 versus 213. What does that mean? Is that just because the size of the room is different in a hotel or motel room versus what is in the size of a residence? Is that kind
Right, the generation factor may be such that it calculates it differently.
Got it, got it. Yeah, so solid waste, hotel waste, it's all significantly less at this for having residences versus.
Correct.
So the demand on our infrastructure is less with
Correct.
this purpose. And then it did look like there was a slight increase, not by much, but of water use. So that just means more people living in there versus more coming and going.
That's
uses.
true.
You know, you have
But then again,
washings and
there's-
dryers and things that you wouldn't normally have. From,
That's correct.
But it doesn't seem like it's that much significant. Okay, cool. Thanks so much for that. I really see a significant decrease in use. So some of the argument that I had seen in some of the correspondence was saying that this is more impactful to our city, but from what these studies say, it's actually less impactful. So, okay, thank you. I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Well, between staff and applicant and my colleagues' questions, I don't really have any questions outside of just, do you agree with the conditions? Quite a few of them there in the report there. Do you agree with those?
Yes,
That's it.
thank you.
Okay.
We have reviewed the staff report, the conditions of approval, along with the noted correction. We are in full agreement.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to move to public comments. I probably have you come back up at the end there. And we have a number of people here. As part of the applicant team, if you'd like to, yeah, feel free. If you're part of the applicant team and like to, okay. Oh, I just thought we have a number of people here, so if I could, and I want to be for sure everyone's able to speak, whichever side you're on this item. But could I just get a show of hands who's for, who would like to come up and speak for the project? Okay, and then against. I just want to be for sure everyone gets there, and sometimes when it's lopsided, I want to be for sure it can kind of even out when we first start. So why don't we kind of do one, if you'd like, we could start one pro or one for, one against, and as we just move through the line that way. So the smaller percentage doesn't get towards the end. So why don't we go ahead and start, and we'll just start with this gentleman.
Good evening, Chairman Lowry, members of the Planning Commission. I'm Gary Sherwin, President and CEO of Newport Beach & Company, and we are the global tourism marketing agency that contracts with the city of Newport Beach. We are so fortunate to tell this amazing city story to the world and help drive our $1 billion a year tourism economy. Today, I'm proud to stand before you and support the new Ritz-Carlton residences, which will be adjacent to our beautiful and soon-to-be opened via Newport Beach. Now, this might be strange for the tourism person in the city to endorse a residential complex that will not be filled with visitors, only Newport Beach residents, but let me explain. I don't have to tell anyone at this meeting about having the name Ritz-Carlton in our city. Ritz has been a signature luxury hospitality brand for many decades, and I suspect everyone has stepped into their hotel in Dana Point more than once. Ritz has always been the leader in luxury service and amenities and has attracted a loyal following from around the world. To have a Ritz-Carlton in your city says that you have arrived, that you are truly a top-tier luxury destination. Now, that is us. Having Ritz as a hotel-branded residence in our city elevates us, even though it is not a hotel. But those people who will choose the Ritz as home will have the benefits of Vea next door. These Ritz residents will dine at Vea, drink, socialize, as well as enjoy their spa. When Vea was concepted, Eagle 4 and Lion Living built it with the Ritz in mind. Vea will offer a Ritz-like experience with service standards to match. This new integrated hospitality campus will offer a new enriching stay for our visitors and residents. These guests will be more discerning and cosmopolitan, and most of all, they will have money to spend in our community. This is a transformational moment that for the city of Newport Beach, with significant financial benefits, and we are so fortunate to have it. And speaking as someone who is well vested in our community, I also want to applaud Eagle 4 and Lion Living for working with our friends at Spawn to address a major issue with housing as part of this development process. This is a huge win for everyone who lives and works in Newport Beach. This agreement is the essence of quality community making, and I applaud everyone for coming to the table and for their creativity to get it to the finish line. Tonight is a new chapter in our fabled tourism story as a city. Thank you for your consideration, and I urge your enthusiastic support tonight for the Ritz-Carlton residences.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Skinner, and I'm here tonight this evening to talk to you about your moral and legal responsibilities as planning commissioners. You took an oath of office when you assumed this role to uphold the law of the land, and tonight it appears to me that you are on the verge of breaking that oath. We have a legal process to approve new projects. They must fit within an established entitlements of the General Plan and Zoning Code, and in coastal cities within the framework of the Coastal Act. If they do not, a legal process exists to change these documents and allow otherwise unentitled projects. In the case of the Ritz-Carlton residences, entitlements do not exist to allow this development. A year ago, a planning director's determination was approved that is now being used as the rationale to approve this 295-foot tall condo tower, but the municipal code specifically states that if a higher level document conflicts with the director's determination, the higher level document prevails. At the time, a year ago, that the director's determination was made, there was not an associated project, but there is now. And in this case, the general plan has very specific development parameters at Anomaly 43, the site in question. There are 532 hotel rooms allowed at that site. No dwelling units are allowed. The general plan clearly supersedes the director's determination, but the city is choosing to ignore their own zoning code and general plan in order to allow this development. However, there is a higher power at play here. In coastal cities, the Coastal Commission has ultimate authority over development through the local coastal plan. This is not just Susie Skinner standing before you to say that the law is not being followed. You have in your agenda packet a letter from the California Coastal Commission clearly outlining their requirements and this project's failure to comply with the Coastal Act. And just tonight, while other people were talking, while we were on number 4, I actually found an additional segment, Title Section 21.48.025, that states that no hotel that was approved for occupancy prior to 2009 can take away hotel rooms to create an LUOVA, and the definition appears to me to include condos. So an approval tonight without meeting these requirements, when you know those requirements exist, appears to me to be a flagrant violation of your responsibility as planning commissioners. Tonight, I am not speaking about the relative merits of the project. I am simply here to ask you to follow the law, which is all the more frustrating since there is a process to approve this project within the confines of the law. Dictators and autocrats ignore the law, but we are neither. You have an ethical and moral responsibility to follow the law, and in this case, that means that there are additional steps that you are required to take before approving this project. We are either a city that honors the rule of law, or we are not. Tonight, my sincere request is that you show me that we are a city that does respect the rule of law. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to thank the commission for hearing comments this evening. I guess like most things in America, there's different definitions of what's moral, what's legal, what's a failure, what's a good idea. And, you know, perhaps my objective changed this evening. I came here to just weigh in on some comment, and after sitting here for an hour and a half, I think now I want to buy one of these. And I think some of the people asking about where groceries go and where the moving trucks go, maybe you guys are interested too, but I expected to hear about all the variances and exceptions and special breaks that a developer might want, and this is about the most perfect project I've ever seen. It seems as though as the planner outlined everything, I didn't really even know what we were talking about. It seemed to obey the letter of the law on almost every point. There's money back to the city. It helps homelessness issues. It reduces traffic. I don't really understand how anything could be better. Usually it seems like when people are against a project in their neighborhood, it's because it's a nuclear power plant or a prison. People seem to think that this is a Red Roof Inn instead of a Ritz-Carlton. I'm with the gentleman here that was commenting on how it's such an honor and privilege to have a brand like that in the city and all the goodness that it brings and the spending and all the rest. So I would just encourage all of you to give this one a thumbs up. As a resident here, I couldn't be more pleased, and anything I've ever seen Eagle 4 do is a development that I love taking my wife and children to, and it's family friendly, and it's well done, and it's service oriented, and it's exactly what we want in the neighborhood. So we're lucky to have these folks. That's it.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, please.
I'm out of order. I'm for this project. My name is Nancy Scarborough. Good evening, Chair Lowry and members of the Planning Commission. Nancy Scarborough. I am a member of the SPAWN board, and I have been very active in housing element, the city's housing element, and other organizations statewide that are following housing legislation and trends in California and across the country. The city of Newport Beach has a state mandate to plan for 4,845 housing units in this upcoming housing cycle. Approximately 2,400 of those need to meet the county's low and very low income categories. In order to plan for 2,400 low and very low income homes in mixed use income housing projects, a developer would need to build more than 4,845 homes. I did the math, took a lot of time, filled out all the formulas, and based on an 80% market rate homes, in order to get 2,400 affordable units, we would need to build between 8,000 and 12,000 new units. If the developers were to decide to take advantage of the state-allowed density bonuses, that number could reach as many as 15,000 units. And the numbers get worse if the proportion of low income to above market income changes. We could be talking about 25,000 to 40,000 units. This is nearly impossible in Newport Beach. We have been talking to the developers of the Ritz-Carlton residences, and we found that the residents of Newport Beach, Corey Kramer and Peter Zach of the Eagle 4 and Lion Living companies, were as concerned as we were about the staggering number of housing units that Newport Beach could need to absorb. A small team consisting of representatives from the developer and SPAWN, as well as council member Joy Brenner, have had numerous meetings to discuss the Ritz-Carlton project, and we found that we had a common interest in that desire to tackle this project or with a project or multiple projects that could be 100% affordable, senior or workforce housing, and they would benefit the residents of Newport Beach who live here and those who work here but can't afford to live here. On May 3rd of 2022, the project applicants, Eagle 4 and Lion Living, entered into a historic agreement with SPAWN to form a land trust. We're very excited to begin this partnership, and we look forward to working with staff, the Planning Commission, City Council in this process. It's going to take all of us. Together, we can create some housing that will be opportunities for the city. I'm personally very grateful to Corey Kramer and Peter Zach for their interest and their willingness to participate in the formation of this land trust. They've been open and anxious to participate and develop a solution to deal with Newport's challenge to meet our affordable housing requirement. I hope that you will consider this when you are considering the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chair Lowry, members of the commission, my name again is Jim Mosier. As Ms. Skinner alluded to, there is a right way and a wrong way to consider the approval of a proposal of this sort. I am wondering why we're doing it as she was wondering why we're doing it the wrong way. First of all, a little problem. For 10 days, the public has been told that whatever you would do here tonight is really irrelevant because those who wrote in opposition could appeal this to the Coastal Commission. Yesterday, we were told, no, that's not true. And I'm not sure that all those people who wrote in know that that is not true. That's a little problem. The much bigger problem is that we've been told that this is a mixed-use project, and we've been very glibly told that mixed use at this site is consistent with our general plan and coastal land use plan. But our voter-approved general plan and our Coastal Commission certified coastal land use plan do not designate this as a mixed-use area. They designate it as commercial, visitor-serving commercial. And the voters, when they approved that land use designation, were told that it was restricted to accommodations and uses intended to primarily serve visitors. The staff has conveniently misread that to say that it's primarily uses that serve visitors, but that's not what it says. It says uses that primarily serve visitors. Mr. Sherwin, our expert on visitors to Newport Beach, has told us that this proposed new building absolutely will not serve visitors. We've also been told that it's accessory somehow. The word accessory to me means that it's somehow related and serves and subservient to the bigger use that is there. But the hotel guests, as far as I know, aren't even allowed in this property. It's not accessory to their use of a hotel. And then we have heard the previous speaker telling you an expectation that this is going to create a housing land trust, a housing trust fund, I think it said in 2 of the letters that you received. I see nothing in here, any commitment to a housing trust fund. I see here a condition number 7 on handwritten page 58. It says the $65,000 shall be used at the city's discretion for future acquisition and construction of senior, maybe not senior, affordable housing units. I'm not even sure what that says. When it says at the city's discretion, does that mean that the 65, is that saying 65,000? Well, whatever it says here. At the city's discretion, that doesn't mean it could be used for affordable housing, or the city might later decide that that money won't even be used for affordable housing, but will be used for something else. That condition does not seem to guarantee what we've been hearing and people think has been promised. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John French. Good evening, Chair Lowry and fellow planning commissioners. Thank you for the important volunteer work that you perform for our city. I am a member of the board of directors at the Granville Community Association. Granville is a residential community located adjacent to the Marriott in Fashion Island and immediately adjacent to the proposed Ritz-Carlton Residences project. As a member of the Granville board and a city resident, I want to publicly express my support for the Ritz-Carlton Residences project. This project will provide enhanced landscaping and improvements along Newport Center Drive, It will provide increased security in our area. It will provide improved access to Fashion Island and the new hotel amenities. It will increase property values and otherwise improve this special part of the city. I also want the Planning Commission to know that the applicants have done an amazing job in reaching out to our board and our community. The owners of the Marriott and their team have met with us multiple times and answered all of our questions about the project. This type of open communication is really appreciated and goes a long way to explain why I am in support of this project today. Again, thank you for our service to our city, and please join me in supporting the Ritz-Carlton Residence project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair Lowry and fellow planning commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Diani Mami, and I'm the president of the Meridian Newport Beach Association, which is adjacent to the Via or Old Marriott. We have 79 units, similar concept, except it's not Ritz-Carlton. So we really enjoy the facility, and we have one. It's about 79 units, not 150 units. And we enjoy every minute living there. I just wish we had the amenities that the Ritz is going to offer. Maybe they can share it with us, I don't know. But I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of our board of directors, which is a 5-member board, and we represent 79 homeowners. All 5 board members are in full support of this project. Our association appreciates the outreach, communications, and neighborliness that applicants from the project have extended to our community. We were extremely pleasant and appreciative for the countless meetings and discussions and telephone calls and meetings that they conducted with our community, and where the desire to express the desire to improve the Newport Beach and beautifying the Newport Beach. More than this, the thing that it stood out to us and personally to me, the owners, Eagle 4, Lion, they've done a lot of planning. These people are legacy of Newport Beach. They are known for their generosities and for the contributions that they've made to the city. Philanthropy work. They came out with something that, if you wanted to put it in the scale of economy, probably would have been better to have a high-rise hotel instead of a residence. So instead of taking a high-rise hotel, they converted it to a limited number of units where they stop the transients. It becomes more of a family style. It's going to enhance the value, the safety, the quality of the neighborhood, the city, the Fashion Island. It takes a lot more funding to propose what they're doing to develop the community, so they should be commendable for that. At the end, I would like to say that we strongly believe this project because this project will bring value to the community and the much needed revenue to our local business and the city of Newport, in particular Fashion Island, and will result in a continuous and imperative revitalization and improvement with our immediate city life and its infrastructure. We ask you to your fellow planning commissioners to join our Association of Meridian in supporting this great project.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Phoebe Luce. I'm a 22-year resident of Granville. I'm also chairman of the board of the Granville Homeowners Association. As you all know, we directly abut the residences. The developers have been absolutely terrific in reaching out to each of us on the board. We've had several meetings with them where they have explained their project, what their goals are, how they're going to go about it. We believe, all 5 members of the board, that this project will be of a tremendous benefit, not only to Granville, those of us who live there, but also to the city of Newport Beach as a whole. And we ask that you please pass the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. My name is Patrick Allison. I'm a resident of Newport Beach. I live here with my family and my wife and 2 kids and dog. And over the last couple of weeks, and it started last spring, something very concerning to me and should be to a lot of the community members. And that is the misinformation that is being spread and being sent out by a concerned resident of Newport. I've received unsolicited emails that were, I would hate to say another word, but I will leave it as misinformation. I would say that they were trying to intimidate and fearmonger. They talked about skyscrapers being built. Last time I checked, I'm not an architect, but I do believe skyscrapers have to be about 500 feet tall. And I don't think the Ritz is 500 feet tall. You know, they're talking about how our property value is going to decrease. They're talking about all this. And the most concerning part, and it should be a concerning to everybody up here, is that it originated from this address, 100 Civic Drive. And there was another one this fall or this spring that originated from 1000 Avocado, which is the library. That's concerning because that is misinformation coming from this building and from the members up there that you sit with. You know, I would like to think that somebody or this concerned resident wouldn't hide behind an Outlook email account like the Wizard of Oz. So this Wizard of Newport, whoever you are, come out. This is what this is about. Come out here and let's talk about it. Don't hide behind an email account.
Sir, you have to, yeah.
Don't hide behind an email account and spread lies and get, everybody all worked up when everything that you're saying is half-truths or misinformation. So, as a resident with young children and somebody that is planning to be here for a long time, do all the citizens of Newport Beach a favor and vote yes on this development. This is what this city needs. These are the people that come in and support local small businesses. And after the last 2.5 years, those small businesses have gotten ravaged and the hotel industry has gotten ravaged. Why not do our part and give them a break and vote yes on this and say goodbye to the wizard? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hard to follow that. Good evening, Chair Lowry and fellow planning commissioners. I'm Steve Rosansky, former mayor and CEO, current CEO of the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce. A few moments ago, or probably about an hour ago, you approve the Ritz-Carlton of dog kennels, and I'm hoping now that you'll literally approve the Ritz-Carlton of housing developments. This project checks all the boxes. I applaud the developers meeting with Spawn. It's the first that I can recall of an agreement between the environmental community and the development community to come together to create something special, this land trust that hopefully will fund some affordable housing here in our community. In addition, the development agreement funds, I think it was quoted at $110,000 a unit, will partially go for the affordable housing, but also to fund many other needed projects here in town, and that's how we do fund a lot of the things that we enjoy, including this City Hall and council chambers that we sit in. There is a severe housing shortage, as evidenced by the RENA numbers that we were assigned and other cities are assigned, and so this project should go at least a good way towards helping us meet those goals. I think that it also provides the needed funds to. Actually, let me step back. I think that the developers here, the property owners, have already proven themselves by the significant injection of funds into the Marriott, previous Marriott, and the current VEA. It's a beautiful project. I've visited it myself. I have no doubt that the Ritz-Carlton will even exceed that, and so I look forward to, I guess, about 5 years from now, visiting that project. Hopefully I can afford one of those units, but if not, at least the city will benefit by the additional generation of funds and property taxes and other fees that the project will generate. So I encourage you wholeheartedly to support the project and vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Robin Shelton. I am the General Manager of Newport Beach Country Club, which sits adjacent to the proposed property here that's being talked about. And at our club, we have 900 members of our club, 900 families who all are Newport Beach residents. And we have seen over the last couple weeks what's happening at the VEA and just the transformation that's happening and the impact that it's having, both from a look standpoint and also from an excitement standpoint. I hear it regularly and daily from our members, like, hey, it's so cool what's going on there. It's so great for how much it's bettering our community. And they don't see it as just a hotel. They see it as a benefit to the entire community. And they see it as a transformational thing, and really is going to make this the premier hotel, not just in our county, but throughout our state. And this property really has a ton of interest from our members who say, hey, we're interested in living there. Hey, we want to hear more. It would be great for our community. So I come here on behalf of our club, on behalf of our 900 members, the feedback that I have and that I receive, and to encourage you to support this world-class project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Debbie Snavely, and I serve as the General Manager of the new VEA Newport Beach, a Marriott Resort and Spa. On behalf of Marriott International, I am thrilled with the upcoming formal opening of our new property, which will be a transformational moment in the history of tourism for the city of Newport Beach. VEA will bring a new level of hospitality to our city that is fresh, exciting, and luxurious. It will attract new visitors to our city from around the world and will be a significant new revenue generator for our community. Tonight, I am pleased to speak with you and support the other very impressive part of this project, the Ritz-Carlton Residences, which will not only be a significant component to our overall project, will be architecturally beautiful and a wonderful complement to VEA. I am proud to be a resident of Corona del Mar, and I love living here. As someone who resides here, but also as a local business person, I want only the best for our world-class city. As a member of the Marriott family for many years, I am very familiar with how hotel development has been moving for a very long time. Many years ago, hotels were built as single entities, but in today's world, financing has changed. The concept of hotel-branded residences has soared as they become companion projects to hotels. Today we see three types of visitors: day visitors, much like the people who come to our beaches, hotel visitors who want to stay overnight, And finally, people who want to live here, full and part-time. With VEA, we handle our overnight guests, and the new Ritz-Carlton residences will permit people to reside here as homeowners. As you have heard, the Ritz-Carlton will not include any transient component, meaning VEA will be the single hotel with the Ritz-Carlton handling those people who love our community so much they want to live here. This project will also create new hospitality synergies. Homeowners at the Ritz-Carlton will use the amenities of VEA and encourage some of their visitors to stay here. They will also eat in our dining and beverage facilities and perhaps even bring a meeting group with them. This trend to couple hotel and hotel residential is now a very commonplace around the world. These campuses combine all these elements into a single integrated entity that provide a full spectrum of services and amenities. And by combining hotel and residential, it permits the developer to build a much better product that benefits everyone, including the community. Marriott embraced this approach many years ago, and we are pleased that it is being brought to Newport Beach. The Ritz-Carlton residences will also create a halo brand that will benefit VEA and attract even more higher-spending visitors. This new campus will make Newport Beach even more competitive in the luxury market and allow us to further stand out from other luxury destinations in Southern California. On behalf of Marriott International, I wholeheartedly encourage you to support the Ritz-Carlton residential project, which will be a tremendous game changer for our wonderful city. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry to go out of order. I was waiting, but I couldn't do it. So, good day, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Charles Klob. Before I begin my comments, I want to thank Chairman Lowry for stepping away from his run for City Council. I know the external pressure to run was robust, and I'm sure it took a lot of soul-searching to come to that conclusion. Thank you. I'm the current president of SPAWN, and I'm speaking for our organization today. The property owners and SPAWN have entered into a unique alliance that could only have been forged by the development of this project. First, a little background. Many years ago, the property where the Muth Center now stands was scheduled to get housing by the Irvine Company. As settlement for a lawsuit brought by SPAWN regarding expansion of Fashion Island, that property was horse-traded to allow the development of the center. We're all better off for that today. The VEA owners reached out to SPAWN in late 2021 to talk about the project before you today. Early in the discussions, we broached the idea of how to provide some 100% affordable housing using the in-lieu fees that they were likely to pay to the city. Pretty quickly, we began meeting at SPAWN co-founder Gene Watt's home. The participants included 4 SPAWN board members, Peter Zach, Corey Kramer, and Ed Selwich representing the property owners, and council member Joy Brenner. Thank you, Joy, for keeping us moving forward. For some time, Gene had been toying with the idea of creating a housing trust fund to help finance the construction of affordable housing using a combination of public and private funding. To our surprise, the property owners quickly embraced the idea. Like us, they wanted to ensure that the money that they paid to the city in lieu of providing affordable housing was actually used to construct affordable housing. We all seem to have a common desire to get something done. As you have heard, the parties recently signed a memorandum of understanding type document, and we are forging ahead to determine how best to form the trust. The property owners committed to provide a significant capital contribution to form the trust, and this was accomplished without any lawsuit being filed or threatened. There's lots of work to do, and we need the support and commitment from the city and staff to make this work. I hope that this commission will support the alliance between the VEA property owners, SPAWN, and the city of Newport Beach as this unfolds. Let's work together to get something done for Newport Beach. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. All right, do we, and then.
Good evening. My name is Ruth Kobayashi, and I live in Harbor Cove. And when I take my neighborhood walks or I drive out of my gate, I look at the Marriott Hotel that has been aging for some time. The current improvements to the Marriott, now the VEA, are welcome enhancements, and I cannot wait to enjoy the property. Girls' Night is on the agenda. Furthermore, I now respectfully ask you to approve the Ritz-Carlton Residence project. This project will be a first-rate addition to Newport Center, built by trusted members of our community. The Associated Housing Trust is a potential game changer for all of us concerned about the state-mandated affordable housing numbers. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have any other comments? All right, Shauna, do you want to come up and finish anything off for the applicant? Maybe if the commissioners have any other questions before we close the public comments, if you had anything you'd like to add.
Thank you, Chair Lowry. Again, Shauna Schaffner for the record. I would like to clarify a couple of comments that were raised. I believe staff might want to weigh in as well. But on the IP section, which is 2148025 of the local coastal program, that is a section referenced by Ms. Skinner that deals with limited use overnight visitor accommodations. A hotel cannot be converted essentially to a timeshare. That's what that code section says, and so that's not applicable in this case. To Mr. Mosier's questions of accessory use, I think that was well established in the director's determination and the 2 staff reports on the appeal for that. There is substantial information related to accessory use in those reports, and I think staff have indicated that is settled tonight. Related to Mr. Wygan's question earlier, I think I may have misunderstood his question. The question may have been, can you build a 300-foot building here? Yes, you can, of course. It's in the high-rise zone. You could definitely build a high-rise hotel here. I believe that those were the main questions, but I'm happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Anything else before we close the public hearing? All right.
Thank you very much.
Just a real quick clarification.
Thought I was done.
We heard about the Housing Trust Fund, and it's a fantastic idea. But what I'm wondering is this fund and the $65,000 that are being earmarked for affordable housing, is that meant to, or has that been discussed as whether or not those funds are we talking about the same thing, or is this an external, another source of funding that's outside of that $65,000?
The trust fund that has been set up is outside of the city in lieu fee payments.
Okay, so that's $65,000 in addition to what's happening with this trust fund.
That's correct.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will close the public hearing and bring it back. Okay, commissioners, any questions for staff?
Yeah, Simone, when we had your initial director's determination, and then it was, we discussed it here, and then I think it was just a receive and file, and then it came back to us to make a vote, right? Was that kind of how the process went?
So the
Or did
item,
we get an
the
appeal?
determination was appealed to the planning commission.
Your determination was appealed to us, that's how it
Correct.
went. And then we discussed it, we agreed with your determination, and then it then got appealed to city council. Is that how that went?
That's correct. So you had a de novo hearing in July of 21 and unanimously supported the determination. And then that item was appealed to the city council in late August of 21. And the city council unanimously supported the item.
And refresh my memory, because I think you did, but you touched on 4 properties maybe that in the city that could fall under this policy. 2 by the airport, which definitely wouldn't be coastal, and then I can't remember if the Island Hotel was considered coastal or not, but this one was. But you said then, and I think you might have told the council when it was appealed to the council then as well, that it wasn't in appeal zone for coastal.
That's correct. The determination is very clear of which properties can benefit from this determination. There are 4 hotels. This property, the Vea Hotel, the Marriott Hotel, is in the coastal zone, but not in the appeal jurisdiction. Of the 4, the other 3 hotels are outside of the coastal zone.
But when you had that discussion, you did elaborate saying exactly what you just said.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what I remember. So you were clear then, you were clear probably to the council is my guess, when
Yes.
it was appealed to them. Okay,
Correct.
thanks.
Any other questions to staff? If there's none, we'll bring it up here for discussion amongst ourselves. And do you want to maybe start again, with Mark, and any comments, discussion points as we move down the dais here?
I think that, it started when I met with the applicant and the applicant's consultant and realized how straightforward this really could be. And just to cut to the chase, that I think this is a great development, and I'll be supporting this project.
I certainly echo Commissioner Rosine's comments, but I do also just wanted to clarify a couple of things with staff. One being the difference between the use of property tax versus TOT revenue, like how those funds are earmarked and used for a variety of uses.
So both funds go into the general fund, so they are just revenue sources. A portion of the TOT supports Gary Sherwin's operation of Visit Newport Beach, but they all go into the general fund and used for regular expenses.
Great. Okay. And then because of where this is located, I know that our short-term lodging is mostly in the R2 designated areas, right? So this would not be, even if there were permits available, would not be a place where residents ultimately, after purchasing, could rent them on a short-term basis.
That's a really good question, Vice Chair Kleiman. I think what's important to note is that the city has a robust short-term lodging program and has a cap of 1,550. So we've exceeded that cap, and there's no more permits to issue out.
Right. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
I'd like to commend staff for a very thorough staff report that is brought before us tonight for this hearing. I know there are months of diligence that were put into this, and I think you guys have done a great job of addressing all of the questions and concerns that have been brought up this evening. I think the applicant has done a great job of community outreach. This project brings a tremendous amount of tax benefit to the city. The public benefit fees for this project are significant. And I think that the applicant and the design team have done an excellent job with a very sophisticated level of design with the building that they're proposing tonight. I know we don't have a design review board at the city here, but I think that they've done an excellent job, and I'm supportive of the project.
Well, this is interesting. Just to step back a little bit, when I review projects from applicants, I stand back first and look at the planning issues. Do they fit? Are they asking for something? A setback problem, a variance, parking discount, or something else? But on a major site plan review, I've never seen an application so complete as this one. They've touched all the bases, compliance with general plan and zoning, height restriction, below it actually, and added more parking than needed, reducing traffic, and I won't even get into the people have already said it, the money's going toward other public benefits in the community. So I look at that, and then I go to the site plan and see, okay, how they did with zoning and development standards. And then you go to the site plan. They've created a very efficient layout, a very efficient access plan, parking plan, and design for that. It's very compatible with our surrounding areas. Those are the physical and issues that we look at as planning commissioners up here. How does it work? Then you go to the consultant from addressing EIR questions, who stated in their document, this project does not result in any net new intensity of use. Intensity is important word, because that has to do with planning and design of the site and the property. It works, this project. And finally, the third thing I look for when these projects come up, public outreach. You've heard it, you said it, 99 to 1 or 2. The letters. excellent job meeting with Spawn, meeting with past mayors and council people and running ideas by him and listening. They listened. But I was really disturbed to hear about comments we heard from Mrs. Skinner about the fact that the Coastal Commission were breaching it, and she challenged us with comments about we're not holding up our oath as planning commissioners in the city of Newport Beach. Please, that is an embarrassment. That's a slap in our face. I looked into the phone calls I was getting, couldn't return the call, and I've heard from the other gentleman how he received emails as well, and they're asking, they were just spewing, as he quoting him, misinformation. The high rise for low-income people coming to Newport. We can't have a community like this. If we can't have dialogue across the table, then we're going in the wrong direction. This development team went out and got support, sat and listened, modified things, and worked with it. But if we continue to run across people like Mrs. Skinner, if she was involved with this, she may not have been, they don't want to compromise. They want it this way and nothing else. I didn't hear one positive thing about the plan. It was all about we crossed the line into the coastal zone, which the staff determined and city attorney, we didn't. It doesn't exist. With all this, I want to thank the applicant and their team. I want to thank the people who came out tonight, and yes, I will be supporting this project.
Thank you.
Well said. I was really disappointed that Mrs. Skinner insulted the morality of this commission. I didn't think that was warranted. My opinion of this application is it's a case study and should be reviewed by anybody that's going to bring an application forward for a project of any magnitude in Newport Beach. I mean, it is so buttoned up, well organized, executed. I look at this room, everyone has been brought together. Really well done. So I'll be supporting this project, and for everything that Pete said, I echo those as well.
I look at this project as solving three things. It helps a hotel industry that was decimated by COVID, and it allows them to make an investment into something that I feel has kind of been slipping over the years. You can just see it right now that VEA has improved significantly since this organization has taken over the reins of that hotel, and I am confident that they will continue to carry on that expertise at this project. This also provides a much-needed housing resource and an element for our community, which is very high-end. It is Newport Beach, and this speaks Newport Beach. And it does a third thing by providing funds into the trust that will help solve our affordable and housing crisis that the governor has thrown to us, and at times I feel is excessive, but it does help solve that problem or add a solution to that problem. So that is something I'm very much thankful for. I'm impressed by the outreach, and some of your team here has probably seen me on the opposition to some of their applications in the past, but it means a lot that you came forward with a plan that was in advance. We're not sitting here tonight learning about something brand new, and the community's not learning about something brand new. It's because you guys made an effort to speak to your neighbors at Granville and Meridian and the surrounding community, and spent time and resources that you didn't have to do, but you did, and as spoken by my fellow colleagues here, it's an exceptional case study, as Commissioner Elmore said. Working with Spawn is a huge component, and they're an organization that has helped our city over the years, and to have their blessing in this is pretty unique, and again, another case study example. So it's what happens when you work together and collaborate and find and do outreach, and you make compromise. And it wasn't easy probably to expense a significant amount of resources that you are per unit. It's a pretty hefty cost, but you're making it for the community because you live in the community and you're part of the community, and we know where you live, so we're gonna come hunt you down if you don't adhere to those terms. So With that being said, I'm ready to make a motion. I know that our chair gets to have the last word, and that's the unfortunate role a chair gets to have by echoing everyone else's statements. But I thank you guys for your hard work, and I thank Spawn for their hard work of sitting together and coming up with something, because it's not an easy task. So thank you guys all for being involved.
Thank you. Yeah, colleagues said everything so well. I'm in all agreement here. It's just one of the things that I love about my colleagues here in our planning commission here is that as planning commissioners, we're here to call balls and strike. We're not supposed to be a political body, and sometimes not with this applicant, but other times things come up to the planning commission, and it's within the strike zone, so we have to call it. But you will have a bunch of speakers on the other side, and people speaking against it. But in our defined role, we have to go with it sometime when you have such opposition, just because of our role. But this is one that made it so easy, such a dramatic project that's going to be so beautiful for this city. It was able to, just outside of all the findings that staff did and what they prepared and what the applicant did and what they've prepared, all the findings are very easily to be made and approved. It makes it from that objective, or from that point of view as a planning commissioner, easy. But just put it a little bit after you as a planning commissioner, okay, you got all your findings, everything is correct, but then to be able to go to that extra step and see all the outreach, see the beauty of the building, see what this is going to add to the city is a great thing. This is a win-win, a poster child, if you will, of projects coming to the commission. So I would like to move resolution number PC 2022-011 for approval of the major site development review, the modification permit, conditional use permit, coastal development permit, vesting tentative map, and the addendum for the EIR that they have. I don't think I got the name out, all the numbers do. I just put the resolution.
I think that covers it. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm going to second that, but I do want to see with staff, there was one modification, I think that had gotten brought up at one point that kind of was blended in, but it was condition number 7. I think we were striking the word senior, much to the chagrin of our esteemed colleague, Commissioner Ketting, but I think that was something that had issue or something.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If that is an okay
That's fine.
change.
Yeah.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right. Congratulations. Yeah.
And Chair,
Very good job.
if I may add,
Yes.
that decision is appealable to the city council. Again, I think we reiterated that coastal it's not appealable to coastal, but that decision is appealable
To the city council, yes. Okay. Thank you.
You don't want to hear item number 6?
Yeah. Then we'll go ahead and move to item number 6, which we're going to look for a motion for a continuance, and this is item number 6, Senate Bill 9. If we could have a conversation just outside, if you don't mind. We're going to try to finish our meeting up here. So.
And I'm sorry, we do have one recusal from Commissioner Rosine.
We have a recusal. Okay, Commissioner
Potential
Rosine?
financial interest.
Okay. I guess we'll have a
Thank you.
Okay. We'll go ahead and let you go and. All right. We'll go ahead and move to item number 6, Senate Bill 9, Implementation Code, or Code Amendment PA 2021-277. There has been, we'll start with, there's a request for a continuance. Is there any public comments to this continuing, just speaking specifically to the continuance of this item? We'll open public comments. Seeing none, we'll close and we'll bring it up for a motion from the commission here.
I will move to continue this item.
I'll second.
Good question. Is that to a date certain? Or is that?
That would be to May 26th,
May 26th, great.
The motion carries 6-0 with Commissioner Rosine abstaining, recused.
All right. Commissioner Rosine, if you see us, you're more than welcome. Did he leave? Oh, I thought he went in the back. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move to staff and commissioner items. Item number 7, motion for reconsideration. There was no no's tonight, so there will be no reconsideration. So we'll move on from there. Item number 8, report by the Community Development Director or request for matters which a Planning Commission member would like to be placed on a future agenda. This will start with-
Thank you, Chair Lowry. I'll go ahead and give a brief report here. I just really want to touch upon a couple of meetings that are coming up. So May 26th is the next, in 2 weeks. We have 2 items there, the 2 items that we continued tonight. So on June 9th is our next meeting. We do have a fairly heavy agenda. We have 4 items. One is tentative. It might not be there, the day residents that you see there. And then we have the next meeting, which will be June 23rd, that we will be canceling. Just as a reminder, the VEA Newport Beach grand opening is that night, so you.
Yes.
And that. And that's really the extent of my report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Yes.
The item that was on TBD, the residential care facilities ordinance update, do you kind of have an estimate when that might be, or is that still really kind of a community-driven thing that was still in the works?
So we are still working through that. I think right now what the staff is going to focus on is getting our housing element certified. We have received additional comments from HCD that addresses residential care facilities. So we need to satisfy HCD's comments first. Once we get our housing element certified, then we'll bring back an ordinance back to the Planning Commission for consideration and recommendation to the City Council.
And then one other item that I was watching the council meeting the other day, and they talked about in a certain area of the city, there was like a 5-foot, 6-foot setback discussion. When do you think that would come to us?
So at our Tuesday night council meeting, they initiated a code change for staff to work on. So we anticipate being complete into the Planning Commission probably in January, and then City Council approval after that.
Once it goes to us, and then if it goes out to council, like what's that time frame? Like when would that be finalized?
I would say probably the first meeting of February, first or second meeting of February 2023.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff on our upcoming schedule? Seeing none. Any requests for excused absences? None. Let's adjourn at 9:30, 2:33?
And we are adjourning to the May 26th. It's a unique meeting date, so May 26th at 6:30 p.m.
We are adjourning to May 26, 2022 at 6:30. All right. Have a good night.